happy to present those.
Okay, so that's fine, so then we'll save those to the end, but we are gonna move the MCAS presentation, which is,
Francine.
Francine, but that's the number, 3 on the agenda. We'll move that up. So we'll let you go first before I do my report, and then we'll have Emerson, and then you guys can leave. And then we'll roll through.
I really appreciate that, thank you.
No problem, no problem. All right, I'm glad I asked about the field trips. Okay. We're ready. We're good?
Alan, you're ready?
Yeah, we're live. Yes.
Oh, sorry. All right,
Sorry.
Did not hear you, I'm sorry.
No, it's my fault.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Berlin-Boylston Regional School Committee to order. Just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded. Your image and/or voice may be broadcast. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public comment. Don't think anyone is here for public comment. Did you have any communications? Did anyone have anything they'd like to share as far as communications? Okay.
Brittany from WBAC, who does our subcommittee meetings, she emailed me today and said that Berlin Cable Access is willing to semi-permanently donate a mixer, so it would enable us to have multiple microphones during the meeting to improve audio. So that's something I wanted to put on a future agenda of the tech subcommittee. I just want to mention that just today.
That's great. So I have not had a chance to read this, I'm sorry. So they're just like straight out willing to donate this?
Yeah, maybe grab it back for like a town meeting or something, but semi-permanently donate it.
All right, so I don't think we have to vote on that. I think we can, right?
It's nothing to vote on if they haven't made a formal.
No, they did. There's an email she forwarded.
Put it on the agenda.
I don't know if permanently loaned to the school committee. All right, so we'll figure out, Jess, if we have to, I'll look into that, see if we have to vote or if we can just accept that for our next meeting. That'd be great because the next meeting is actually the initial budget. Okay, so anything else before we move on? All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second. All in favor? I'm an aye as well. That motion passes. All right, so we're gonna do things a little out of order tonight. Well, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna have our MCAS update. So we had the ELA and science last meeting. Tonight, we're gonna hear from Ms. Francine Gleason on the MCAS math part for Tohoto.
Francine, do you want to chair?
No, it actually hurts more to sit down than like to get up and down, so I'm just gonna stand until I leave. Okay, whoever asked me that, so thank you. So you all have a copy of my MCAS presentation from last month. I'm sorry that I couldn't make it here, but it was a medical reason. And so I'm not gonna go through that because I was asked to just highlight the successes and to talk about areas of improvement for the math department. So that's what I'm gonna focus on. I did actually make something just to keep my thought process going. So I'll start with successes, okay? We are recognized as a blue ribbon school, which is a very impressive honor, okay? It means that we are supporting our students academically, socially, emotionally, okay? Especially our high needs students, all right? 9 out of 21 of our high needs students in the 10th grade are meeting or exceeding expectations, which when I showed the results to the math department, they were floored because our expectation after they took the exam was for that not to be the situation, okay? Only one student was not meeting, and that one student had a big attendance issue. I believe they missed about 44 days of school. So, 44 days of school, 44 days of curriculum, trying to take a math MCAS is troubling. And so I don't know if they've retaken it, not yet.
At the end of this year.
At the end of this year. Okay, so my hope for that person, if we talk about areas of improvement, is I'm willing, and I've always been willing, to spend one-on-one time with these students that don't pass the exam. I've always done that. And I also offer the MCAS remediation course at the end of the year. I always email Carol and I say, where's the money? Can I do this? Can we put something aside? And I put a schedule together, and I usually have a lot of kids that are interested in this. I actually got an email this week from a parent asking me, when is it starting? Are you doing anything? Because parents are interested. I told them to keep an eye out for it in the Tohoto newsletter, and that hopefully down the road, we'd have something that we'd be able to offer them. We typically do it about 8 to 12 weeks before the exam. Sometimes there's not enough money to hold it for that length of time. I think the money comes from Title I. I'm not sure where else we could even find the money for it. But students that I have had that have been to my MCAS remediation class have passed that exam. I spend a lot of one-on-one time with them. I usually have one pair that stays with me. That pair that I usually have is fantastic. Mrs. Ritchie, she usually takes on the position. She takes it very seriously. And I have so many kids that come back to me after they get their results, thanking me for holding the class. And that just brings me great joy, because they come into the class and they're nervous and they're worried. They know, what's going to happen if they don't pass the exam. And so they really just want the opportunity to do well. Students at that level that want the help, they just want to do well. They want to pass it. And I'm going to get into something about how I feel about the younger grades after. But students at the 10th grade level need to have that class. Okay, so this is really fantastic. Okay, these results are fantastic. The test is not designed and has never been designed for any school to meet 100%, meeting and exceeding. It's just not made that way. They redesign the test all the time so that that doesn't happen. Because if it happens that we're all meeting 100%, there's no need to have a test. There's no need to change the standards. There's no need to look at what we're teaching, okay? So I think that we're doing fantastic. We're very proud of this particular group of students. These students had some courses at home during COVID learning that were detrimental to the content on the test. So a lot of work went in from the math department. At the beginning of the year, we tested every single class. We looked at the data to see where they were missing vital information or standards because of how we had COVID learning, and then we had our, what do you call it, that year after?
Oh, the hybrid.
The hybrid, the hybrid learning, okay? And both of those things really showed up in this particular group of kids. So we were really proud of their results. All grades performed above the state expectations. And the 8th grade saw their biggest increase, a growth increase of 37% above what they normally had in years past. However, if I start to go into a very lengthy conversation of student growth percentile, which I'm not going to do, student growth percentile, they're looking at students and they're looking at their growth compared to another group of students. They're not looking at these particular students compared to themselves. Okay, so if we look at just these students and where they were in the 8th grade, which we do as a department, we print out how they did in the 8th grade, how they did in the 7th grade, how they did in the 6th grade, and we say, okay, look at them in the 10th grade, and there is usually tremendous growth, and students are very successful on that exam. I feel like students in the younger grades, and this is my own personal opinion, are overly tested. And I think that a lot of them, especially in the 8th grade, that's just an age where they sit down to take this test, and they have said this out loud as sophomores, they don't take it seriously. 10th graders know that it's a high stakes exam. They need it for graduation. 8th graders don't know that. So they look at it as, okay, this is another test that they're making me take. It also is a very difficult test. Some of us as teachers feel like the 8th grade exam is actually harder than the 10th grade exam by a long shot. So we have done a few things in the department looking at that. And what we've done is we redesigned the pathway. And this is all in the stuff that you see in my prior presentation where I go through what is the math department doing, okay? And I just lost my train of thought.
The pathway.
Oh, the pathway. So we changed the pathway so that students were no longer capable of taking an Algebra 1 honors course in the 7th grade. That needed to be changed because students were really missing out on content that was on the 8th grade exam because it's like they skipped pre-algebra. They didn't have any of that content. So they didn't have the skills that they needed to do really well in the MCAS. So by changing the pathway and having students take Algebra 1 starting in the 8th grade, we've already seen big changes. Teachers are noticing already that next year, because this year we do not have a 7th grade advanced class at all. We didn't have one student that we felt was prepared for a 7th grade advanced course, but next year we do, okay? Next year, the middle school teachers have taken a look and they do feel that they have a comfortable maybe 15 to 20 that might be able to move on to a 7th grade advanced class next year. Now, what does that mean? Well, we have to cater to not only the kids that have needs, high needs, special needs, but we also have to cater to those kids that are also high level. We need to cater to everyone. I have always been a big proponent, Mr. Campbell will tell you, Emerson has me. I feel like students that need help deserve the help, but I also feel like students that are high level deserve to be able to have the opportunity to show their skill as well. Because of that, for many years, I have taught 6 courses. I've taught 6 periods because I did not want those students to not have the ability to take Calc 3 before they went on to college. Okay, I didn't want them to skip a whole year of learning calculus or having the ability to play around with calculus a little bit, so I've always offered that. Granted, it's a very small class. This year I have 5. Some years I have 1 or 2. Some I have 3. One year I had 12. Okay, it depends on how many students are taking AP Calc AB and AP Calc BC and want to continue that path. So if they're taking it as a sophomore, or freshman, or senior, and they want to continue on that path, I feel that it is important to be able to offer to them no matter what the class size is. Okay? So anyways, we redesigned the pathway. We are seeing great results with that.
Can we?
Go ahead, sure.
I think Mike had a question. I'm
Sure.
sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I don't want to get too far away and then
Okay,
go on to
that's
something
fine.
else. This question
That's fine.
remains something you already said.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Do you want to do questions?
Go ahead,
Alright,
yeah,
or-
go ahead, yeah, as long as
Right,
it's not
I'm just
time.
gonna cut my ear because it's like I'm underwater.
Yeah,
I'm still recovering.
So, well, before I ask my question, I learned last month that if I ask a question, sometimes you take it negatively. So I wanted to just let you know, one, I'm not asking this because I think anything negative about you or any other teacher
Okay,
or the program. I just want to know, and I want to know how the committee can help solve whatever issues need to be solved.
Yeah.
Based on budget policy, all that.
Yeah.
Back to the high needs,
Yeah.
21 high needs students. What makes them high needs?
well, they're a mixture of students that have IEPs, students that are L students coming from other countries, students that speak other languages. Our population from the past few years has grown from, I don't know the exact numbers, I just know that right now we had 21 that took it for this test that were in the high needs category. And you can find actually all of that information on the MCAS website. Can you speak to
Yeah,
that?
I can. So the high needs population is constituted by students whose first language is not English, English language learners, economically disadvantaged,
Yeah.
and students with disabilities, and that goes into a formula that produces high needs. For the end of the 22-23 school year, that was 31.3% for the district.
So disabilities, I can understand having a challenge with a test like this.
Yeah.
The English learners, if this test were given in their native language, would they perform better?
I think they would, but they
So-
can't take it in their native language.
They can't take it in their native language. So how are they getting to 10th grade and not functional enough in English to be able to take the test that they're being required to take in order to graduate the school?
How are they,
What can we do about this?
go ahead.
I don't know if there's really anything we can do because we have students who are coming directly over from a country not speaking the language that are being, that are enrolled in 9th grade and 10th grade.
So they're showing up, so they're coming from a country that doesn't speak English today, on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, they're in Berlin or Boylston, and they're at Tohoto, and they're being expected to pass the 10th grade test?
They are
Yeah,
expected to meet it, yeah.
Yes, essentially. I believe that there is wiggle room with L students, that they don't have to take it immediately that year. They can defer it 1 year.
Okay.
But sometimes that's not sufficient time to, imagine that, trying to become
No.
proficient in a language. So
I've done that, and it's
Right.
not easy.
Right.
I agree.
So it is, it is a challenge. I think also to speak to the areas of high needs, our largest group that is increasing is our low socioeconomic group. That is increasing at a greater rate than any other group.
So how is that group defined? That was my next question. So the low socioeconomic.
It is defined through the income level of the household. And oftentimes, and that's a state, a state identified, people who are usually identified for low, free and reduced lunch in that category.
Is there an issue identifying those particular kids with kids who aren't performing on these tests? Because I don't personally understand how, I understand how the home's income might give you additional advantages. But if you're a student in the school, how does the fact that you have low income at home mean that you can't perform on a test?
So that's an excellent question. I think that, and if you've had these students in your class, you can certainly understand. Sometimes these students are going home and they're working to actually support their family. So some students are working probably 30 to 40 hours a week during the school week or on the weekends and providing support for the family. So they're not able to maybe do traditional homework or stay after school for after school sessions. Sometimes they're going home to an unstructured environment because parents have to work maybe second or third shift. Those shift differentials can make a huge difference in a household income. So you don't have, it could be a very loving home, but, students, and I think there's a very common misconception that, we need to stay home with the small children, which is important. I know myself that it's equally important to have structure and guidance for middle school and high school students. And when that structure is there, it's really easy to get tied up on your phone or on, online. And so all of a sudden, I know that I can be online for what appears to be a minute, and there's a time warp of an hour.
Yeah, it's
So I think all of those conditions which are defined by low socioeconomic.
So I'm just curious, like, I experienced a lot of that stuff myself growing up. A lot of what you just.
Oh,
explained.
absolutely, and as I did.
But they're in the school for 6 hours, right, 6.5 hours a day. There are some people who argue that homework doesn't actually help. So how are those 6.5 hours in the day not enough?
So sometimes people,
How is it not enough? And what can we do through policy, budget, or the superintendent?
Right.
To change it, because to have 30 to 40% of kids not being able to perform at that level because of money at home, they're still in the building 6.5 hours a day. I can understand attendance, I can understand.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to stop you, but I don't know where you're getting 30 to 40% not being able to. You're talking about the
I'm just
percentage of
talking
kids,
about all
just the high
sports.
needs or along the whole?
The whole thing. each different grade.
Great question.
Yeah.
I think that what Francine, one of the things that she was talking about, the Title I work that we do in the schools with
Yeah.
students has been helpful, and also things like she's doing after school, additional help, I think, to be able to do more of that during the day and after school would be really helpful to be able to fund those opportunities for students to come and get extra help would be huge. The other piece that Lisa didn't mention, and I think this is really important too, and we'll speak to something she's going to talk about later, exposure of these students to opportunities outside of school, exposure to field trips, resources, going to museums, having a chance to see more of the world and see everything. I used to teach in a district where the children had not left that town to come to Worcester.
I mean, sure,
So
sure,
more of
but
those.
if they can't do that after school because they're gonna take care of young kids or they're gonna go to work
So
or
what are
whatever.
we doing? during-
So are you bringing anything like that into the building?
So I think that's an excellent point. I can address also, Sally is heading a scheduling committee, and we're looking at opportunities to adjust our schedule so that there are more opportunities for tier 2 intervention. Tier 1 intervention is all the intervention that we provide in the classroom as good educators. Tier 3 is our more targeted intervention that happens with our IEP, special education services. That tier 2 is the kind of muddy waters where the kids that might kind of drop through the holes and the cracks. And so really creating time within the schedule where we can meet those students' needs, where there's time within the day to do that. Because the 50 minutes of class time is very structured and has to move, to get this material. And providing extra support and time within the school day. And this is valuable discussions that we're having in the scheduling committee.
So I guess my question, just the 30 to 40% was just, when I looked at your report, 8th, 10th, all the grades, anywhere within that range is what was under the meeting expectations, that's where I got them. But to your point and to.
So I just also want to add, like, not meeting doesn't mean that they're not meeting. Like,
Right.
that's like your C student.
It doesn't mean they're failing, yeah.
They're not failing.
Right, no, I
Okay, they're
understand
just
that.
not your A and B student, and not everybody is an A and B student in mathematics.
I understand, I'm just trying to explain to mom and dad why their kid's not meeting expectations and what we're gonna do to try to help them get there, but. So I guess to Lisa's point, to Carol's point, to the budget point that we're talking about later, why are we not putting in more staff, more programs, more? I noticed one of your slides here talks about Delta and, what is it, Delta?
Desmos,
yeah.
And I am Sally.
yeah, I'm actually
How
going to
many
get
kids are
into a little
taking
bit more about what
Yeah,
you can do for an area of improvement when
How
it
many
comes
kids
to
are taking
staff.
advantage of that? Can we put more of this into the budget? Are there other programs like that? Let's do something instead of just talking about, oh, well, we're having discussions about this and we're planning to plan the next program that's gonna plan how to fix the plan.
So Francine, would you like to address?
Yes, I would like to, actually. Okay, so one of the things that we look at in the math department is scheduling class sizes for our CP classes, okay? Specifically Algebra 1 and Geometry. Algebra 1 and Geometry are the focus content of the MCAS exam. We currently have 2 high school Algebra 1 CP courses with 25 students each, and in each class, approximately half the class are on an IEP, a 504, and we have 1 pair in the class. Now, those numbers are high. In order to manage students that are high needs and they're struggling, having that 1 para, I mean, it's a great help, but with that many students on an IEP and that many students to service in 1 class, when the entire classroom, every seat is filled, it's very difficult for any teacher.
Are these numbers typical across the state or is it?
I can't hear.
Are these numbers typical across the state or is our district higher or lower?
I think what happened in our district was we need another math teacher. We have a math teacher who only teaches 3 courses because he's the athletic director. Okay, so when we lost that math teacher, we lost 0.4 of a teacher. We lost 2 classes. But since then, things have changed, okay? We currently have multiple teachers teaching 6 courses. I'm one of them, okay? Not only am I teaching 6, I consider myself teaching 7 because I have 2 separate sections of personal finance that I took on this year. Otherwise, the students would not be able to have taken it. We have an 8th grade math elective that we had to cancel because we didn't have a teacher to teach it. And financial literacy is going to be required for students graduating 20 or 25 or later. We're not going to have a teacher to teach that. And right now, if you think about it, so we lost 0.4 when we lost teacher to AD, but we also lost the 8th grade class, so consider that 0.6. Then we also now have this financial literacy class that we have to offer. I'm considering that 0.8 for the amount of time and work that has to go into that. So we really do need the addition of a math teacher, and we've needed that since that position changed a few years ago when Peter Mackey left. The position changed. Mr. Mackey used to have 4 classes. So when it went down to 3 classes, that made it difficult. I'm just losing that one. But again, the dynamics of the school have changed. We have more enrollment. So we have more students. And without that extra math teacher, I'm teaching 6, another math teacher is teaching 6. We had to get rid of an elective. An English teacher is teaching 6, but we had to change an 8th grade elective to an English elective because they're not a math teacher. So if we had this extra math teacher, we'd have someone who could take on the responsibility of adding something, adding a course that's a remediation course, like a specific course for these kids that need help. Now, there's many things that we can do, but we don't have the teacher.
So we
So I
have
know that
the
teacher
teacher.
and the athletic director is on the plan.
Yeah, yes, that's in the budget right
But what
now.
about her?
Yeah, it's just a 0.4,
Her
right?
mention
No,
about
we
the
have a full-time math
paraprofessionals with
teacher,
all the IEPs.
right?
Well, the AD has to, the AD position has to be approved, so the AD position is full-time, so then we have the full-time math
Yeah.
teacher.
Our typical CP
Yes.
classes back, in the day before all of this happened and losing a body to help teach, usually those classes, we were able to keep this at 15 or under, typically 12 to 15 students max in that class. And you say, okay, well, what's the difference between that and 25? It's a big difference,
No.
okay? It allows that teacher the opportunity to give more one-on-one time to every single student in the 48 minutes that they have in the room. They get that extra help, and that's important. We have another person who can stay after school and help with the remediation class.
So regardless of the size of the classroom, it looks like with the IEP students, whatever numbers your classes are, you're gonna have roughly half the class is on an IEP. So in addition to the teacher, why not the additional paras? If you only have one paraprofessional to go, is that per classroom or for that whole class?
You have one para, one teacher in that one class of 25 students.
All right, and then they rotate with another.
Yeah, well, then there's 2 Algebra 1 classes at the moment that are both CP classes.
So you
And
have
they both
another
have
team.
paraprofessional support.
And they both have one para.
Is it the same? Are these the same people or are they different paras?
I think she has the same para, Mrs.
Okay.
Conley,
Not that relevant to my
same
question.
para for both.
If we got another teacher and then we split that into 3 classes, would we also need additional paras or again, that same person?
No, because the classes would then be smaller and more manageable in order to give the kids the help they need. So you wouldn't have 12 in the class that were high needs. You might have 5 or 6. You might be able to cut it in half. You might be able to cut it into 2/3, which is still more manageable.
So we wouldn't need that actually.
Yeah.
So if we made so right now, Julie made a good point. We have a part-time math teacher.
Yeah.
If that position was full-time, would that cover these needs you're talking about? Or I guess I should ask both of you, Lisa, would that cover everything that the financial literacy, would that cover, because it really,
One
at the end of the
extra.
budget, I think, to Julie's point, it's not one full-time head. It's making that, your teacher that, whatever, if it's that person or somebody different, that role will be full-time. So it's actually adding 0.6 of a teacher. It's not adding a full-time teacher.
Yeah, then you're at the full-time athletic director, so it's one full.
Well, then, no, you're at 0.4 athletic. You're only adding
Right,
one
so 6 and
body
4 is
for an
10.
athletic
I
director and a math
don't know
teacher,
if you
yes.
went to the school, but 6 and 4 is on.
No, do you not?
Right,
You follow what I'm saying?
I absolutely,
All right.
I know what you're saying, absolutely, and
She's
We're-
saying she
we're
needs
actually
another
putting-
body,
Right, another body. Right.
but that's,
So You're,
But no,
You're saying she needs half body, we need a full body.
but that's all we have in the budget is what I'm
We
saying,
have,
is
we
half
have
a
to have
body.
we have one person doing two
Right.
jobs, we need another person to have two people doing two jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know, that's why you need to clarify what's in the budget, because I don't think that's in the budget.
What's,
A full-time math teacher and a full-time athletic.
No, Delta, that's, all right, we'll go back and look at that. I don't think that's what's in the budget right now.
well,
Okay, well, it's not, then it
financially,
is.
so in the
Full-time
budget,
math
so,
teacher in budget and a full-time athletic director.
That's what I thought.
but the money
What
is.
it depends on is who becomes the athletic director, right?
Right.
Okay, that's
all
the
right,
missing piece.
all right.
That's
what we need
up
to
to you guys, but as far as budget
Right.
goes, it's.
That's
We
what's
still
on.
have 2 heads in the budget.
Yes,
We're adding 2 heads.
yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
I thought we were adding 0.6 and, I thought we were
I
adding
get why you were
1.8.
thinking that.
All right.
Right, so it's 1.6 math teachers that's being added to the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Okay, fine.
Is that, fine? No,
All right. Oh, sorry, Jess, what did you say?
I'm being told.
No, we're not adding 1.6. Right now, we have one person doing two
Two
jobs.
0.6 athletic and then
Right.
0.4.
The
math.
proposal is that there are 2 positions now, one full-time athletic director, one full-time math. So instead of teaching 3 classes, they'll be teaching 5 classes, which gives that math teacher the opportunity to teach financial literacy
Yeah.
and then maybe another CP.
Yeah, because
yeah,
we also
one head.
lost
That's what I
a
thought.
7th
In
grade
addition to the one you already.
math lab.
Yes.
That was the
We
other
need-
class
we
that's
need
in
to
the
add
high
2
school now.
heads.
No,
In the 8th grade.
no, right, 0.6
Not
math
together.
teacher and 0.4 athletic director in the budget, that's the additional funds going to the budget.
Yep. All right, that's what I thought. Okay. All right.
I just have one quick question on the remediation course, if that's a must, is that pricey? Or can that just go into the budget?
We paid for it too. It's Title, we paid for it out of Title I for the instructor.
Yeah.
The students don't pay at all.
Right, so every year it's in there regardless.
I don't know where it
As
is
long
in the
as it's
budget, I
grandfathered.
just know
Yeah,
that
we-
I'm asking you to keep it there.
That's what I'm saying.
Because it really is helpful. And I do have a lot of interest in it, you know, when we do have the opportunity and we know about it ahead of time. If we know about it ahead of time, we're gonna get more students on board to come in for it. But they have to know ahead of time. It's really hard for them to schedule, you know, their sports, their lives, and, you know, Lisa used to do the biology remediation class. We would talk to each other about our schedules, and we would try and make sure that we managed it with their sports, with all of their activities. And we would pick the best days so we could get the most students to attend. And I always made it a point to tell the students that even if they came to 1 a week, or if they came to 4 out of the 12, it's still beneficial because they're gonna learn something that they didn't know previously that would be on the test. And also a big part of taking this test and the way it's been designed now online, the questions are multiple questions. So if you have, and it's reading, students have to be able to read really well, pull apart the question really well, and answer the question. And I feel like any question that we've looked at these questions in the department, any question that we ever perform low on at all is usually a question that asks for multiple responses. It'll say, pick 2 things out of these 5. And they pick 1 and they get the 1 right, but they didn't pick 2. Or they picked 1 and they got 1 wrong. Also, on a lot of the questions like that, if you pick one of them right and one of them wrong, you get it wrong. You don't get it half right, you get it wrong. It's wrong. They don't give you credit for the part that you got right. So having the students have the opportunity to stay after school and learn how to also use the tools to take it online, it's helpful. It's a big deal.
All right. Thank you. Was that everything?
That was everything.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Did you have
Yeah.
last question?
Okay.
Okay.
On the other end of the spectrum, for the kids who are performing really well, are there any kids who
Well, right now,
need more challenge, or what are we doing? to
I'm giving them
challenge?
challenge. I have a class right now of 5. There's 2 girls, 3 boys, and they are learning multivariable calculus. So they've already taken Calc BC, but they want to pursue careers in either physics or mathematics. So I give them the opportunity to, pick the content. It's called Applications of Calculus, and I feel like they are challenged. If you came into my room on any given day in that class, your eyes would glaze over sometimes at the discussions that they're having. It's pretty fantastic. We have that opportunity. We don't have like courses that they can take besides that. Like coming down the road, there's an AP pre-calculus course that College Board is now offering. So an AP pre-calculus course is another course that the math department would really like to add, because when students take an AP pre-calculus course, we'll know exactly how prepared they are for taking AP Calculus A, B, or B, C. And it also just gives them more opportunity, again, because a lot of students, when they're leaving high school, pre-calculus is the only math class that they do have to take as a freshman. And then they're done with their mathematics. Some kids have to leave and they take statistics, and they're done with their mathematics. It depends on what they want to major in. But AP pre-calculus coming down the road, that is another class that we would like to offer.
Math team is another opportunity. Math team is
Yeah.
another opportunity.
Oh, math team, I have a freshman and a varsity math team. I had a varsity math meet a few weeks ago. My classroom was full. I have pictures on my phone. I think I had probably 30 kids stay for a math meet.
Oh, that's great.
I was gonna say, because through your report here, the number of kids exceeding, at the exceeding level, seems like they would want more challenges.
Yeah, and well, they're challenged, those are the students that always love to show up for a math meet.
Yeah. To hear there's only 5 in that class though is a little,
What's that?
to hear that there's only 5 in that class that you were
Yeah.
mentioning is a little.
Well, these are 5 students that have exhausted the curriculum in school. They've taken every AP math class.
Yeah.
They're done.
There's a
So
lot more-
I offer
There's
this,
a lot more that seem like they can handle it.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're into something else or.
well, in order to actually take it, they have to have completed Cal BC.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of like their golden opportunity to further it more. But you have to get to that point. You haven't exhausted the curriculum unless you've taken AP Stats and AP BC Cal.
And to do that, you have to track early, start early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's-
and,
Or double up.
and even though we changed the pathway in the middle school so that they're not starting as early as they used to, so that I used to have a lot of sophomores and juniors take the BC exam, and those were the students that actually always did the best because they just had their heart in it, whereas the seniors took it because they wanted it on their resume, but the sophomores and the juniors wanted it because they really loved math and they really wanted to learn it, and they would really do well on the exam. Those kids now are taking Algebra 1 in the 7th grade, but they do have the opportunity to double up. So they can double up on math. They can take Geometry and Algebra 2. Those are 2 classes that can be taken together in the same year because you don't need to have one to take the other. So those students that would double up would be the students that would make it to, pre-calc honors and then AP, AB or BC calc.
So there is opportunity for those that want to do it. It's just
Oh, yeah.
a bit of a.
Scheduling too is tricky.
Okay.
Yeah, the scheduling is really hard, just because it's a small school and,
And multiple
sometimes if they
APs.
do that, they have a really hard time scheduling something else like chemistry or English. Like it's just really hard to have that happen in their schedule. And if they're a sophomore English just happens to be held on the same time as AP Calc BC. So, they're having a hard time with just scheduling.
All right, well, thank
Okay.
you, that's great, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
And thank you for letting me go first.
Oh,
I
yeah,
appreciate
please,
it.
yep, all right. Emerson, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Hi, so last time we talked was right before break, so not as much has happened, but we are already coming back to very exciting things. I would say like the talk of the students right now is the new lunch program we have. Everyone's loving it from what I've heard, which is great, which is like bigger portions, better quality, more options. Something that makes it even better is that obviously the juniors have to do the civics in action project every year for curriculum. And I know last year specifically, 2 or 3 groups, that was their main focus in the school lunch. So everyone's projects kind of, everyone was talking about like, oh, our project would actually work, but yeah. And then we're doing Disenchanted is a musical that the drama club has been putting on. And I know every year they try to put on a play, but sometimes it doesn't have as much attention, not as many kids. But from what I hear this year, it's very big interest and it's singing, dancing, and acting. And I think some of them had a little bit to do with like picking what musical they were doing, which they were all really excited about. So I'm looking forward to that. And then for clubs, ski club started. Basketball's been doing very well, boys and girls. And prom planning has happened. We're doing it at the Chops It in Sterling. Really pretty. Everyone's really excited.
That's awesome. Great. Sounds like high school was a lot of fun. I wish I could go back. All right, thank you very much. Please feel free to take off if you want.
Thank you.
Okay, so Nancy, do you want to get set up next?
Yeah, I
Oh, you're not using that?
No.
All right, we skipped my chair report. I had one thing I wanted to say to everybody, really quick. So the only thing I wanted to update everyone on is that we do have the annual report for the town of Boylston. I don't know, does Berlin do one as well? I haven't seen that one. It's due on, what?
Should ask.
Yeah, I'll have to reach out to them. But it is due on the 15th, so I will be working on that and letting you guys. It's not anything we need to vote on, it's just updating information. It has nothing, I don't think it has anything to do with it here.
Usually we do,
Voted on the last year.
Did we vote on it?
we usually do a writing, but the superintendent does something in there, the school committee.
Did they ask you?
I haven't heard anything about it.
I got an email recently, yeah.
No.
And they said they wanted, maybe it's a draft. All right, I'll get some more information on that. If we have to vote, then we will vote on it on our February 27th meeting, and I will not submit it. I'll go back and look at that. I remember you asked me for help on it last year, but I didn't think we voted on it.
We did, we had discussion on it, for the Berlin one, maybe.
Okay, yeah, Boylston might be different, yeah. All right. Okay, I've not heard anything from Berlin. Boylston just asked, and it's just a, filling in information. So I'll look into that and I'll let you guys know for next time. And that was all I had. All right, so Nancy, we'll roll to you and then we'll do subcommittee updates before we, are you? Okay, good. Are you ready to present, or I didn't want to keep hanging here,
I mean, I don't want to, disrupt the flow of the meeting or anything.
But he does have two small little ones.
No, go ahead. You're presenting on the Canada field trip?
Yes.
All right, so why don't we do that now, we'll do the vote, and that way you can get in here, get out of here.
Thank you, I appreciate
I
it.
can appreciate having small kids at home that are not feeling well.
Sorry to be,
It's okay.
Understandable. So, the idea is that, Toronto students would be going on a 4-day trip next year. Be over Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. So they'd be missing 1 day of school unless, like this year, we have a PD that Friday, and students wouldn't be missing any school. But yeah, there are two potential itineraries. One where they spend 4 days in Quebec City, another where they spend more or less a day and a half in Montreal, the rest of the time in Quebec City. So kind of in between those two options. But yeah, Toronto used to have a trip like this annually or biannually. The former French teacher and the former band director used to have a Canada trip, I think, every other year. So it'd be great to be able to bring that kind of thing back, particularly for the French students. But yeah, so the idea is, Friday through Monday, more or less trying to give the overarching goals, to give French students some, immersive experience in French-speaking culture. There are all sorts of traditional, so to speak, field trip activities like visiting historical sites and museums, but also there's a bunch of fun stuff mixed in here like tobogganing and dog sledding is in the itinerary as well. I haven't looked into that too much, but it sounds fun, taking part in a theater workshop where they learn about traditional Quebecois legends and that kind of thing. So a whole lot of cultural stuff, but plenty of opportunities for them to use their language as well. Not just, through the structured activities, but there's a lot of time for them to explore the city and, navigate on their own and, whatever, buy lunch, So that's more or less the gist of the trip.
Okay, that's awesome. Sounds awesome. Does anyone have any questions?
It was a lot of fun. As a band and a French teacher, I was coming to a cafe, ordered in French, and learned about maple syrup making and.
That's also in there, yeah.
Yeah, and then we, learned about like the wars and whatever, and then went on a little thing on the river.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful cultural experience.
Yeah, sure, and it's really hard to provide that kind of opportunity to French students in particular around here. Spanish students can find a lot more authentic experiences in Massachusetts, and got to travel a bit to really get that immersive experience with French. But,
And who is organizing this trip? Who is it EF?
so this company is called Jump Street, and they seem like they really do an excellent job. I have a lot of information about insurance and that kind of thing. They have on-call doctors from Johns Hopkins University and stuff. They got 24/7 call line. They're really on top of, they've thought of every in and out. But I believe West Boylston uses this company for their Canadian trips that they have for a number of years, and that's how I heard about them.
Are you planning to drive or fly?
We drive, coach bus, yeah. And as far as cost goes, it's variable depending on how many students, sign up. At the most expensive, it would be $1,400 a student. If we can get enough students to fill the bus, it would be between $850 and $950. But that's also a little bit variable depending on, if we swap a couple activities out, some activities are less expensive than others. My contact with this company said that the whole trip is customizable, can augment what has to be augmented, or, depending on what the kids can do. But that's more or less what we're looking at as far as cost.
Is it financial help for some of the French students, or is there going to be fundraising? Or?
Yeah, fundraising is definitely part of the situation. And the woman I've been speaking to at this company said she has all sorts of ideas, kind of prepackaged stuff she could offer, but we could also, come up with whatever we want to do at Tohoto. But and I believe the final payment is due 60 days before the trip begins, so that would be mid-November. So it's about 10 months between now and then. So if, median $1,000, it would work out to be $100 a month, building up to that final payment.
And what are the ages of the kids? Is it middle, high, or just high?
So I theoretically just high schoolers enrolled in. So French students, I guess, would get priority, so to speak, seating, on the bus, on the trip rather. I did a rough count of how many were interested, and I got like 55, more or less, that said they were interested, preliminarily, hadn't talked to their parents about it. So that would likely, diminish as far as French students go. To fill the bus, 40 students, I think, is what we'd be looking at to get the lowest price. So it would likely open up to students outside of, just ones who are taking my class. But theoretically, this would be more of a high school oriented trip.
9 to 12 high school?
9 to 12 high school, yes.
Going upper level
In
and
the-
then
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I mean, just because of the,
Yeah.
just.
Yeah, accountability, liability reasons, like there's scheduled time to be walking around the city and stuff like that, And I do work primarily with the high school students. I know them on a personal level. There's a bit more trust there. Not to say there isn't with my middle school students, but,
It just,
Does that cost include the passports and all that?
passports are not included in that cost, no. And insurance actually is mandatory. I did a rough quote for this trip, and depending on, if you want a mid-tier package or the deluxe insurance package, both of which are like really comprehensive, it was like $50 to $75 with insurance for the trip. So that would be, I guess, in addition to passports, that would be the only additional cost, would be the insurance.
Anyone else?
Just wanted to say thank you for bringing these kinds of field trips back again, proposing them.
Sure.
It's great to see these rolling and that you're willing to take the students.
Sure, yeah. Happy to do it.
And I've requested to attend to keep a close eye on things.
It's gonna be very cold. I've been up there in the winter.
Yeah,
I went
January.
When I was in high school.
That was hard, yeah, but-
It'll be fun. It'll be a great time. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, thank you.
All right, we're gonna vote. We'll do your vote, so you'll have your answer. All right, so could I have, did anyone have any other questions? Or comments or discussion? Okay. Could I please have a motion to approve the Canada field trip over Martin Luther King weekend in 2025, correct? Second, Jess, Julie, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, motion passes.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks.
Have a great night.
Thanks. Sorry, Nancy. I'm like, Nancy,
Oh,
sorry,
no
Nancy.
worries.
No. All right, Nancy, for real, it's your turn now.
Okay,
And we have a vote on yours too.
yes. All right, so I'll try to go as quick as I can because I know I have a lot here. So, a couple quick updates. First update is I wanted the excess and deficiency filing. That has been filing. We're filed with the Department of Revenue. We're waiting for it to come back. So they're reviewing it. The food services update on Winston's. I was very happy to hear Emerson say that they're enjoying the food, better portions, better quality. When I wrote up this memo, we have had that for 3 days. And in the 3 days, it's been received very well. They're slowly introducing new items so our food service staff can be trained. They have protein packs in the elementary schools. They seem to be very popular. And Toronto has the hamburgers, pizzas, and salads in their daily meals. So they're trying to do a little more for a layout than they currently have. Overall, I think it's progressing in the right direction. We have our new food service director, Rob. He seems wonderful, very diligent, very on top of things. I'm very pleased with him. Today I did download the contract through Whitson's into the drive. I don't know to it going in today if anyone had a chance to look at it, but I wanted you to see it. That is Desi's template for their simple contract for the drive. If we go with them in the future, then it'll be a different contract. Those are my, does anyone have any questions on those two before I move forward? Like, I know in the presentation they mentioned they like post-it notes of like if they liked it or whatnot. Is there like an active seeking the kids' opinions on it, because I know like the protein pack in elementary school, my daughter said she's starting afterwards, so I didn't know if there was like a little feedback box that they could write their feedback.
Well, all three admins are at every lunch, and we were actively like sitting down with the students. So what do you think? What do you think of this? Or do you feel full? So it's not anything formal, but it's been informal data gathering as we move out. And, do you feel like there's larger portions? And that's where, the feedback has been that, the portion size is better. So it's been a wonderful opportunity to talk with you.
Yeah.
Jessica, that's a good point, because I actually also heard those power packs, but again, at the end of the day, the kids are choosing their lunch, like I would be hungry after I just, they're
It
little,
sounded a little petite, and my daughter's
it's like one cheese stick, probably a serving of fruit, a serving of granola, which isn't a lot, and then it's like probably a couple scoops of yogurt in the power pack, but they're,
Is that a lunch? What else is that a lunch?
That's what you can, like, that's one of the, I think the elementary schools, I don't know if they have that at Tohoto too.
No.
Yeah, so it's, I can see, because Maggie's fifth grade, right? That's hard, because I think that I would fill up a kindergartner or a first grader, probably wouldn't fill up a fifth grader. So it's just,
So I was just curious if there's like a feedback process from the kids.
John, do you guys get any feedback from the kids at the elementary level?
It's interesting, yeah, kids are thrilled, you know, we're not seeing the same change at the elementary level that they saw here in Tohoto, except for the power packs, which have been super popular.
yeah.
There's probably 20% of kids are ordering that. And I have not heard the I'm hungry thing.
No, okay, I don't.
Yeah.
Both kids came home saying that the first day.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised because, you know, I kind of had the same reaction. But I know that they have, you know, very specific requirements about what they're supposed to provide with kids.
Oh, yeah.
Measured and portioned and so many carbs and.
That's a true point, yeah.
Although it was interesting, looking at the menu, it looked like a carb, protein for different lunches. I thought it would be interesting to see what the formula was, because I know it is very formulated.
Power pack is 2 carbs and 2 proteins, but one carb is fruit.
I think it was like mac and cheese and french fries or something like
Yeah.
that, and then the next day it was like 2 proteins. So it was just interesting.
I think the other thing is they're still getting their feet under them a little bit. You know, they're still learning to order how much we need, what kids will eat tonight.
Yeah, maybe they'll make some with a little more yogurt or a little bit more food.
I know they plan to do more à la carte items in the elementary schools, but they're slowly working their way out to it.
Yeah,
So that's coming.
I've only heard
Probably not
positive
very
things
much.
about food myself from kids
Right.
at school, like they like, but I,
It was good.
yes, people are saying, yes, they like the food, yeah. Whether it's different brand or I don't know, but
And Nancy, regarding the contract, I don't know if this is you or if this may be more of a Paul or Carol question. Can we please get an electronic signature program? Because when I noticed the contract, it's a scan of a document, so it's not searchable, it's tough to read because it's small, the dust on the glass, it makes it blurry. Can we get an electronic sign?
I have DocuSign, but this one didn't come through with.
Or can't you add any document to DocuSign to add electronic signatures to it? Because then we can search it, it can be searchable on the drive.
Okay, I can
Do
see
that.
that, absolutely.
And then what's the other document in there about the
So
business from Desi?
So that's a corrective action plan that we received from Jesse. So that is saying that, enforcing that we procure a contract for fiscal year '25, and that we have to use their template. So the way this all went down was within a very short period, a very short time frame. So in reality, you should go out for bid, you should get your bids in, and then the contract that you should use is a contract from Desi. A different contract from Desi than what this is. There's a standard one, and that's what they want us to use. So the corrective action plan is saying, if you continue on this path for fiscal year '25, you are to use that contract, not this contract,
And why was that contract used?
because it was an emergency procurement. Because of the time frame.
So that's the correct emergency contract.
Yes, it's the one they allowed us to use, because we didn't have time to use the contract that they normally use.
That all came in on time and everything?
Sorry?
That all came in on time, Desi was on board with that before our last meeting?
Yes.
I heard there's a conflict
Yes.
with timing.
Yeah, it was tight. So I got a verbal approval, when was our meeting last meeting? The 12th.
12.
So I think I got verbal approval the day before, right around there on the 11th. And then I got an approval through email shortly after that. So yeah, it's officially approved through Desi.
So
It's
Desi wouldn't
uploaded
send
on
an
the
email
portal.
that they give you the verbal?
No, I think they sent it the day after.
I noticed in here it mentions a threshold of 100,000 that we can't use, it says something, I'm trying to read it sideways here, I couldn't get it down. But, it says it exceeds the threshold of 100,000. What's that 100,000 refer to?
Can you tell me what page you're on?
Yeah, it's on the second paragraph of that form there, the corrective action plan.
Oh,
Yeah, there we go. It says. Due to the.
That's just the procurement guidelines. It's saying that we're gonna go over 100,000 if we go out to bid for a whole year. So there's different just procurement guidelines when you go out to bid. And we'll definitely come in over 100,000 for fiscal year 25.
It says the SFA, which I assume is us,
The SFA is us, yep.
used the small procurement method, which involved obtaining quotes from 3 vendors.
That's what we did right now.
So
So that's the process we
Selecting
did
a
right now.
responsible vendor with the lowest price. Due to the anticipated value for the contract exceeding 100,000. But I thought that the contract with Woodson's was only for a $30,000 payment.
The contracts for Woodson's.
Their fee is, I think, 12,000 for one service and 18 for the other.
That's right, those are right figures.
That's just the fee, the total, the question is
But that's the
just
contract.
based on the fee
You
or,
got the fee and then you got the food.
because
Well,
we
we're
pay,
making- The food's not
They
contract.
are ordering the food.
so we pay
They-
Winston's.
Right, for the food,
Okay,
So they can mark it up.
right.
all right. So
We don't know what they're paying for the food. We're
Okay.
just, they're just saying this is what we're.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
So, all right,
that's how I understood it at least.
on the contract, there's 3 options. One was the guaranteed break even that we went with.
Yes,
There's one that's also guaranteed surplus. What's that?
you receive surplus.
Why didn't we go for that? That sounds like guaranteed profit.
Because we weren't in a position to receive a surplus, we were in a position to break even. They weren't
Why not?
comfortable going for a surplus.
So we might try for that next time.
We could look into that, absolutely.
Seems like
I
that.
think they just had to get their feet wet and see, and really look at,
So this spring, you're still considering, what are you considering for the spring after this contract? What's being considered for the food service here?
We have to go out to bid.
We have to go out to bid. We have to put an RFP.
So the idea of hiring our own director to replace Lynn is off the table?
Not necessarily, I think we have to look at.
That's what I'm asking.
Bids, yeah, I think we have to look at what the bids coming out from these vendors, whether what we think about Winston's, whether we want to stay with them, what we can do with our, making sure that we secure our staff, and that's all, would be whoever we choose, would be the kind of staff that we have. So a lot of considerations of that. But we certainly, we could go out again to advertise for another food service director, just separate from this contract. We'll just see the cost of it too for us overall.
This is going to, sorry, Carolyn.
No, that's
I was just gonna say, this is going to creep up on us.
Yeah,
we need to do it by the end of March.
End of March.
Like get the
If we need to
RFP out,
get
or
the
we
bid
can
out
just,
by the
yeah,
end of March.
we have to put an RFP
Well,
out, so that,
wouldn't you advertise for the position before you go with the RFP? See if you can get any decent applicants?
Could do that. Okay.
What makes sense financially?
I think as long as the goal of the food service revolving account is to break even or a little surplus. So
Okay.
you can buy additional equipment that's needed for the kitchens.
Mhm.
With this break, I like with the break even. And if you're getting good quality food and the kids are liking it, I think it's a great option.
Guaranteed profit might be a better option.
Yeah, the surplus might be a great option to look at, like you said.
It's so long,
Right.
so
I
as
mean,
long
that's
as we
almost a
keep
guarantee.
current staff and all that,
I think too, I was just looking at your asking that question, Mike, I would also like, if we were going to go out to hire an individual person, I would also, I think seeing what we have the possibility to have, at this point, we would have to see if that person, an individual person, could create the same kind of environment, presentation, options, variety for the students, and also being mindful of the types of food that's provided to the students, the quality, the health factor of that as this company. Sometimes it is,
I can imagine that's a tall task to do
it's
in
a tall
2 to
task.
3 months.
Yeah, it's a tall, I think that's why this kind of company was attractive to us, because we saw what they could do. And we wanted to test it out as a possibility. It's been difficult to get a food service director, and somebody single-handedly who could do something like this company can do. But we also have to see if we can financially sustain. That's another piece we'll be looking at, if we can do that. So you're right, it's gonna be quick. It's gonna come up on us, but we have to do this with this. But we can't, I also don't want to discount if this is a really good food service program for our students, you know, eating healthy quality food. We decide what our priorities are, to making fiscally responsible decisions about it.
Yeah, their ingredient list was impressive.
Yeah, you might get higher quality food because they're ordering it in bulk, because they're preparing, ordering food from multiple districts. So, okay. All right, any more questions about, so Nancy, you talked about Whitson's and the access efficiency, you gonna move into the capital plan
Sure.
now?
Yeah.
All right. Let's roll.
So we have developed a 5-year capital plan. I worked with Dan and Paul in doing this. So I'm gonna go over it quickly because you have it all in front of you and hopefully everyone got a chance to read it. So I'll quickly cover the changes we have made since the last time this committee has seen it. So for BMS, originally we put an additional bus. We took that bus out. The value of the bus was $59,400. We met with our subcommittee and the subcommittee felt that it wasn't a necessary expense at this point. The students are getting to and from school within the legally allotted time. With all the additional costs we're asking for, this wasn't a priority. The walkie-talkies, we took out of the capital plan and we added them into all three schools in the general budget. This was recommended when we met with Berlin FinCom, and it was a good recommendation. So we did that. We removed the intercom system from BMS because it broke and it needed to be fixed immediately. So we were fortunate enough that we were able to take the funds this year from the flat roof project because we have remaining funds. So we funded that from there for looks like it's gonna come in at about $29,000 and it should be completed by Friday because they're working on it right now. The last item, there was a line item to refinish the gym floor and we took that out because that's an expense that's met by the recreation department. So that covers BMS. BE for Boylston Elementary, we adjusted the updates to the bathrooms. Initially, the bathrooms were put in to be gutted and redone. And after further conversation with the facility director, we decided to keep the tile on the walls and the floor. We're gonna power wash them. We're gonna keep the toilets as they are in good condition. And we're recommending that the partitions in the sinks be replaced. And this amount went from $157,000 to $75,000. We added more detail also for the playground equipment. I met with Cindy, the principal, and we are putting in a communication board, inclusive swings, STEM playground activity, and a sensory panel, and the cost has remained the same. There were 2 hot water heaters that we had in the budget, and we moved upon the facility director's recommendation. We moved this down to fiscal year 27, because the useful life can last longer. We moved the paving of the parking lot to fiscal year 26. And we removed the plumbing repairs in the bathrooms for $7,000, as this is an item that we should be able to repair in this year's budget. We added a new fence to be installed around the playground for $10,000. This will be needed if we move our preschool program to BES. Lastly, we kind of have an open item right now. So it recently came to our attention that we do not have heat in the kitchen. I want to be clear that we have heat in the cafeteria. This is just the kitchen only. We're waiting for a quote to come in for the cost of the project. Depending on the price, this might have to wait to fiscal year 25. For now, we have heaters and the stoves kind of keep it warm, so it's reasonably heated. That's BES. In Tohoto, we took the floor scrubber off. We had it repaired and a new one is no longer needed. We moved the storage unit to fiscal year 26. HVAC controls have been added for $55,000. They're outdated and need to be replaced. And we added a line item for athletic field renovations. So the fields really need to be regraded, loomed, aerated, and a sample needs to be taken so the right products are used on these fields. The cost is unknown at this time, and we hope to have this updated within the next month. Those are my capital updates.
Nancy,
Yes.
on the capital, does this report relate to the three documents, the three other documents and then the 5-year plans?
Say that again? I'm sorry.
You're reading from your report, right? Business officers report to school committee. one,
Yes.
24.
Oh, does it relate to these? Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
three new.
Yes, it does.
The BMS one just doesn't have timing on it, doesn't have a timeline on it. The other two
So
do.
I'll fill in the dates, see where the grays are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just
Okay.
Those
basically
get
so it's
blanked
like-
out because the one we looked at our meeting did.
Yeah.
BES and Tohoto do.
I wonder when I-
BMS one is missing.
It's because you updated it to say 5-year, when I remember it said 3.
And it must have cut
It
that
must
up.
have cut the dates out.
Okay.
Either way, for
yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
There's an item in there for paving the parking lot and driveway. At BMS, or reading through the lease, that's gonna be on the town, so that, should that come out of there? If, assuming that the
Yeah.
lease gets signed as it is.
We talked about that, actually, Mike, we talked about that at our subcommittee meeting, where like, where is the line between what the town, what should be in our capital budget and what should we come back to the
The
towns?
lease they sent specifically says paving, parking lot and driveway.
Yeah, I mean, I would think the roof should be covered by the.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, the party that owns the building.
Yeah.
Same thing as windows
It's
and
in-
walls, but
Right, it's in there.
it's in there, yeah, so I mean, I
Well,
would
we didn't
think,
have a lease before, but now we do.
well, we don't have it
We
yet,
don't have
but
it
I
yet.
agree, I think
Assuming.
we.
I don't know if it would be something that we would still put in the capital plan, because they're still liable, you know what I mean, if that's a way to track it.
They would
That would be
put
a
their
conversation
capital
we'd have to have with them.
They should put it on their capital plan, right, exactly, but yeah, we are gonna have to, we have to have a way of telling them like, hey, this is what these
Yes.
buildings need, because they're not gonna come and inspect them. So yeah, it was a.
No, the
we-
lease says they will. It specifically has a clause in there that says they will come in and inspect it.
They do, they're supposed to do inspections here.
They are,
Yeah.
has that ever happened?
Well, in a lease saying they, that's
All right,
Do we have to request it, the leaf?
with her.
that was in the red line version, right?
So
These are good questions too that we can ask Kristen. We can ask Kim and Kristen about. And I was thinking,
The vote
this
version?
is down the road, once this place is approved too, thinking to myself, we need to have like 2 versions of capital plan, one that's gonna be.
Well, that's the question, I wanna make sure we get it right, because we only have a couple months left.
Right, and one that we have to create for the town, like this was your responsibility, capital plan, this is our responsibility, capital plan. So that would be a question we should clarify.
Was the BES behind the school paved area mentioned at all?
Fiscal, I think they moved it,
So both the front and the back?
Just the front and the back.
In the back.
the whole parking lot, Dan, right?
No, BES.
Instead of doing
I'm
this, one second,
BES.
we're not doing the whole thing.
Right, and adding additional
I think
spaces.
yours,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
BES.
Did you hear?
Recently.
So they said instead of doing one part of it, they want to do the whole thing and adding additional spaces at BES. But they're not gonna be able to do that next fiscal year, I think it's in 2020, oh my God, I just lost the file. That's in fiscal 27 or fiscal 26?
26. 26.
So that would not be next year.
Her project's done.
Yeah, paving. Yeah, repave parking lot, that's fiscal 26.
Are there still holes out there? I haven't been back.
There are, so Carol and I had talked about at our, and Nancy and Julie, we kind of started talking about BES and the facility, and I'm sure tomorrow is gonna be a telltale sign if that roof leaks again. I mean, it wasn't repaired, right?
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
2 inches of rain.
We're supposed to get 2 inches of rain tonight, seems like every time that happens. But I think Carol and I decided we were gonna kind of start having a conversation, because we want to form a committee where the town of Boylston has a say and decides, or not decides, maybe starts talking about, do we need a new building? Or are we just going to invest in this building?
Well, speaking of BES, you also have a fence in there, 10 grand.
Yeah, that's a preschool that's moved there, I don't
So
know.
it's- well, yeah, when will we know that?
The report will be available, March. of this school year with some recommendations. That's where we are in terms of the preschool program evaluation. And then it needs to be, of course, looked at, discussed, decisions need to be made, but we'll have some recommendations around that in March.
But, so that, we had talked about that too at our meeting, at our subcommittee meeting. The playground that's gonna get fenced in is the kindergarten playground. The big playground at BES is too big for preschool kids. I don't know if you know about that playground. I know Cindy's not here. You know what I'm saying, John? There's certain playground.
Yeah.
That playground specifically, you have to be like, they don't even let the kindergarten kids go on it. It's dangerous for young children. So
My question is,
I guess it doesn't.
it's $10,000 that can be spent on a lot of different things. We won't know if we're gonna have a preschool until after we're voting on the budget. So,
Yeah, I don't know, did Cindy put that request in? Yeah, I wish she was here. So that's a question we can ask Cindy. I don't know why she she just wanted that as a placeholder.
Yeah.
$10,000 can get a lot of enrichment programs at PBS that currently at BS.
Is it currently no fence?
No,
Well,
no,
it's probably-
Well, no, the playground's fenced. I mean, there's a big fence in the back cut.
no, that was section with no fence there.
But
The little section with the sandbox is,
that's kindergarten playground, so that's where they want to put the fence?
yeah, I believe so, yeah.
This is probably required.
I had it all measured.
If
It's
there's a
required for a
If
preschool.
there's a
If there's
preschool, yeah.
preschool, for a kindergarten, they don't. I mean, it's
That's the
very,
question, if there's not gonna be a preschool there.
I agree. If there's not gonna be a preschool there, I do not think they need a fence back there.
No,
because
they won't put one if there's no preschool.
But we gotta,
we're not gonna know if there's gonna be a
Right.
preschool though this year, to his point.
I know King, yeah.
Is that part of the 10, is that part of the 5-year?
that's for next year.
So he has it in for fiscal 25, so that's what Cindy asked. We probably should move it to fiscal 26.
Because we don't, even if.
Because we're not gonna know about the preschool.
Even if we know, we won't know about the preschool to the point until after we vote on these things. And then it's going to be a year. It's a
Oh,
time
it is going to be, yeah.
at least to move
So
on
to
to
do it,
preschool. So
yeah,
some of
okay.
that happened next year.
Yeah, fence is a hot topic, it's the budgets of these towns, so.
Fences, they are though.
$150,000.
No, it's 45.
Not that quite, but it was.
No,
I mean, that's a small area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little, when you were talking about that big playground, I'm like,
All right, that was my question, if it needs to be there or not.
Do you want me to move it to 26?
We don't need to consider it.
I would wait till we talk to Cindy.
Okay.
But I agree with that. I know we brought that up, and I was like, what playground are you fencing in? You don't need to fence that big playground in. But yeah, I get, if it's that little one, the kindergarten one, then sure, it's like right next to the building. It's probably a good idea to fence that little structure in. For the preschool, but we don't need that alone. As long as Cindy's okay with it.
And just to mention, just the points Mike was making before, if you just look at pages 3, 4, and 5, just if you review that, you'll see those kinds of things about the $5,000 over and what coverage and who's responsible.
For the, if it's over 5,000, yes.
So you'll, we're speaking about it.
Depends on how it's classified.
Right, right. But I'm curious to know about creating that capital plan going forward. We have to notify them a certain period of time, things that they're responsible.
Yeah, the process.
So that'll be important to keep an eye on.
Yeah, having the leases is gonna be a game changer, because then it will be a legal document saying, okay, you guys are responsible for this.
And I know that we will, and was is also interested in looking at what we created with Rowan, because she very much wants to have these also. This will button up things that were in a regional agreement that have not yet been figured out, so I think this will be really defining responsibilities for everybody, and cleaner and clearer and more concrete, so.
All right, does anyone have any other questions on the capital plan? Okay. All right, so the last thing me and Steve is going to talk about, or no, wait, you have 2 more things.
Yeah.
One more.
Well, one more thing, my budget review, my quarterly budget review.
Yeah, sorry, and that includes the transfers that we will be
Yes.
voting on.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So district-wide, our spending aligns as to where it should be as of December 2023. Each school has some line items that needed budget transfers for yearly adjustments. This committee's used to seeing the transfers at the end of the fiscal year. I would like to do it on a quarterly basis. I decided to do this for 2 reasons. One, for transparency, because I think it's important. You guys are responsible for the budget and you should see what's happening. The one thing that I want you to know though, this is always the one that has the most, because these are planned transfers when I create the budget. Sometimes I make placeholders with that, when I'm expecting to do these transfers after the budget's approved. So that's what a lot of these are. They have no impact to the total budget. They total a 0. If you take them all, you got your ins and you have your outs, and at the end of the day, there's 0, no revenues coming from any other sources. It's just a wash. But it's something that the committee has to approve. But overall, we're in a really good position. One of the things you'll also find in the packet is I included a new circuit breaker forecast. And I did this because we're having, we've had some movement with our out-of-district tuitions. As you know, I can't get into detail due to confidentiality, but due to this movement, the expenses slightly changed. So right now, we're forecasting to have approximately $345,000 remaining in circuit breaker at the end of this year. So that's my update. And then the rest of this is all my transfers. Instead of reading all of them, and hopefully you all had time to review them, I think I'll open it up to any questions that you have.
Nancy, are you referring to that report or to the spreadsheets?
Both. So, well, what spreadsheet are you talking about?
You've got, where is it? The file column, vote on year-to-date budget transfers. It breaks it up district-wide, BMS.
Yeah, so I'm referring to that, and it has the column with the budget transfers.
So,
But then I on my memo, I more specifically went into the transfers for explanations.
that's what my question is.
Sure,
I can't follow this at all, and I'm an accountant.
okay. It's
I can,
it's complicated.
on your spreadsheet.
Yep.
I understand how it nets.
Yep.
Okay. But these numbers don't match to what's on your memo.
So what I did is I took anything that was $5,000 and over. So the small ones aren't included.
Where?
So if you added them all up, they do. And I guess I could maybe I
Because
should.
in your memo, for example,
Yeah,
If you add all the
For
decreases,
BMS
it should equal all the increases,
for
right?
BMS on your spreadsheet labeled vote, you have 208,000 moving across various buckets. 208,525, is that correct? Am I looking
out
at
of
it?
district, yes.
Right, and that's coming from there and then being spread across various accounts.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
But then on your memo, you're detailing what's increasing and decreasing. You've got almost 300,000 decreasing, 276,000 increasing. I know you're saying it's only for things over 5,000, but that's a $24,000 difference. So I was just having I was having such a hard time following along with your numbers. I can't vote on this without knowing that it ties up.
I guess I need to find a better way to present this to you. So normally, let me think. I could just give you the line items.
I mean, that was my other question was, when it comes to budgets and numbers, and
Yeah.
us to review things, can we get actual spreadsheets instead
Sure.
of documents?
Like right here, I have every GL with every budget transfer.
Yeah.
All I did is I took these and I tried to summarize them for you.
No, I get it.
And I get why it's confusing, very, like, I understand that. Maybe it would be better for you to receive this, where you could just see
It would
everything
be,
that happens.
it would be,
Right.
but even still, on the
So if you look
document you
at
want us to vote on,
yeah,
for BMS.
so if you look at BMS, and you look at the out-of-district tuitions, this is showing you that $208,525 was transferred out, right? We started with
Right.
624,000, and we went to 415,000. On my memo, I have $200,000 going out. The
No,
8,000,
You have 224,000.
no, that was,
Yeah, your memo says
oh,
224,000.
224,000 was taken out. But see, what happens is then money went in somewhere else at another point in time.
Yeah, but I get that, but it just doesn't match.
Because I didn't include all the small ones. There was so many small ones.
And then
I
Nancy,
could have kept listing it. I think
But you're saying in one document, 224,000 is coming out of district tuition. And in the second document that you want us to vote on, you're saying 208,000 is coming
I was just asked to summarize it, so that's what I did. If you wanted the detail, we could do it at the next meeting, and I could give you this right here that has the
But
details
summarizing
for every line item.
I mean, summarizing or detailing, 224 and 208 don't match. See what I mean?
Yeah, it's because I didn't go under $5,000. They're all in once under $5,000.
Can I ask something?
No, that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
So are you, what you listed, I think part of the reason why this is, you're listing transfers between accounts on this memo.
Mm-hmm.
So your buckets on this memo are smaller, you're listing like when you move things out of different accounts, but it might not necessarily mean you moved them out of that bucket on the, so you might,
Regardless, you're out of district.
So let
tuition
me
on
try
district
this.
Matches.
I took $224,000 out of one out-of-district line item.
Right.
And then I added $15,916 to another line item, which comes to your 208,525.
that's what I was gonna say, so
Where do
the
you-
out-of-district tuition is you have stuff might be moving within the same bucket.
Exactly.
I
I
can't
think you're
describe it
better
off, but I can visualize it
So
because
that's why
a
I can't
spreadsheet
vote on
would be,
this.
I agree with Mike, looking at an actual
I
spreadsheet.
can't vote on this.
I've never done this in our FinCom meeting. Carol asked me to summarize it, so I summarized it.
We talked about summarizing it, that was on us.
Yeah, but summarizing, you still need to,
This is what you should have.
yes, it is,
Yeah. And
but we
I'll
don't
give,
have it.
well, I can give it to you for the next meeting.
No, no. But summarizing, I mean, you still have to tie out when you summarize. I mean, it says, right here, Berlin Elementary, 224 was taken out from out of district line item. It doesn't say 224 was taken out, plus a bunch of stuff under 5,000 that I'm not talking about. But then on the document you gotta vote on, it says
So I do
208
have,
was
like,
taken
if you
out.
go down below, increase to out-of-district private schools for 16,000.
Where is this?
So go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down
On your memo or on?
on
your-
my memo.
Okay. 6 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 16,000?
Yep, so increase to, so if you take the 224, if you do that out, you'll get the 208,525. It's just very confusing.
Agreed.
We talked about this this morning. I was like,
They-
this is
they
really
do.
hard.
They do match, I see why you're confused.
But.
I don't know how they've been presented to you in the past. I think we're just all learning how to make it so you understand it better. I'm fine giving, if you want the spreadsheet, then I'm fine doing that. Whatever you find easiest works for me, but it does tie up. Like, do you see how that ties out?
That's why I was trying to.
So I guess that brings up another question. What's the difference between out-of-district private schools and out-of-district tuition?
So you got a private school and you have collaboratives. One of those line items was a collaborative, one of those line items was a private school.
So why are they
We
netted
really
together
can't.
if they should be separate line items?
Huh?
Why are they netted together if they should be separate line items?
They are separate line items.
But you just said they net to the 208.
Well,
They're separate accounts that fall under the
they're both
category
under
of
the same
district tuitions.
GL, but the same GL, one GL is collaborative and one GL is private.
That's different GLs.
They all go under the same book on the end of year report. It's a very complicated
So,
process.
All right, so for BMS, for example, your decreases and increases from your sheet, again, go from 300,000 to 276,000 to 208,000. I added them all up on my own, and that's what it comes to.
What do you want?
In your memo, if you go through each sentence, decreases and increases.
Mhm.
Your decreases are 299,600. Your increases are 276,000. So that's a difference of 23,600.
Which is your small items.
Okay. But we don't have that, and then I see the only thing decreasing on the transfers that we're supposed to be voting for is 208,000.
I'm not following it now. Are you on board DES?
BMS.
I'm sorry, I thought we moved on to VMS.
BMS, yes.
So say that again? You're losing me.
In your memo, if you go sentence by sentence, adding up all the decreases, it's a decrease of 299,000. All your increases add up to 276,000. You're saying the difference is the small items, okay. On the document you are asking us to vote on, the only decrease there is 208,000.
Because it's a net increase.
The net is 208,
I
but the
think that
net
this
here is not 208.
we would be here all night if it's just very complicated. I think I'm better off waiting to the next one and giving you the spreadsheet to look at the budget transfers.
Okay.
I think.
All right, so do you guys want to
Thanks.
get the spreadsheet and review it? All right, Jess, do you have anything to say? I'm not trying to single you out, I'm just asking because I feel like I want to make sure everyone's read.
Not my nerves, no, I think.
All right, Lisa, what about, any thoughts? All right, so you want to wait till the next meeting and you want to review the spreadsheet?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can send that out. That's
All right.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so we'll do that, we'll wait, is that gonna screw up anything, not me?
No.
Okay,
It's fine.
all right, okay. All right, is there anything else for Nancy before we move on to subcommittee updates? Okay, Jess, would you like to take it away, Student Success and Technology Subcommittee? And then just jump right into Superintendent eval, because Laura, thank you, Jess.
So you heard the majority of what we did for the Student Success and Technology meeting through our presentation, Lisa and I, for the conference. But the future items that we want to talk about is, sorry. Agenda, all these are going out. Is that we want to review the handbooks. Not necessarily changing content, but just cleaning things up, making it more aesthetically pleasing, confirming through Janelle and the other admins that, you know, the policies that legally we need to include are in there. So that's just a future agenda item. Also, I know the new website was said to be coming out in January. So just making sure that it highlights like the blue ribbon achievements. Also go back, Brittany during one of our meetings had said she could take the chunk of the 3-year plan, district improvement plan from the meeting of November of 2022 that you guys have done, to make people understand more kind of the vision of the district. And then also was the microphone, the sound quality too, work on that.
That's awesome, so, if everyone's okay with that, I'd like to designate the Student Success and Technology Subcommittee, to take on those handbooks, if you guys are good with that. I think that's a great, project for you guys, and I really appreciate you tackling that, and I think that it's a great way to get it streamlined, so that next year, it should be a much easier process for updating. You can work with Carol and, the principals on that, so thank you. And then Jess, like I said, I want to reiterate again, I am so grateful for the town of Berlin to donate or to allow us to use their equipment. That's awesome. Because I know that's an issue we have is with the audio. So I'll make sure I reply and say thank you to that, Brittany, but that is greatly appreciated. So thanks. And we'll figure out next time if we have to vote on that or if we can, I think it's a loan, so it says for the email it's a loan. So I don't think we have to vote on that, so I'll reply, but I can double check with Kim and make sure. All right, thank you. Was there anything else for that subcommittee? All right, did you want to speak?
Just wondering when it's like coming out, is that?
No idea, but it is.
Oh, I wanted to say something about that. We have an update from Paul on the, Carol and I talked, we're gonna have, Janelle, Paul, Sally, everyone do updates and the principals at our February meeting with the budget update.
So if it's coming out in January, will the new website be launched before Paul updates?
I don't know when the website is coming out. I know that it was.
He's meeting with us.
tomorrow to start to get us set up to train to how to have these into the websites and messages. So we should be up and running by January.
That's good. So then I'll be able to give us like a live update.
I'm glad they're coming back to everybody's doing the reports again. I think we'll throw in a lot of pieces that we haven't heard about what's going on. So,
Like on a monthly basis.
like 5 minutes each.
We'll try to keep it quick. Yeah, it's tough to keep the time a lot. All right, so that's good. Does anyone have questions for Jess on student success? So Jess, are you comfortable with giving Laura's piece? Thank you.
Yep, so Laura and I met December 1st, and we reviewed the superintendent evaluation, and Lori is going to be color coding it, so for her goals versus where the rubric that we're doing, so it should be easy to go through. And instead of having the January 24th meeting from MASC, there is a pre-recorded webinar that Lori put in. It should be a single document within the drives to watch, just so you're familiar with the process. Lori also put it in the drives to click through it, just so you kind of know what's coming at you. This is true also for the self-evaluation. We went through that as well in that meeting. That's a school committee self-evaluation. And there were some areas that we found that perhaps we should alert, to work on in the coming months, items within that self-eval that we didn't feel we were addressing. So I encourage you to go over the minutes of that particular meeting. That was pretty detailed. And there was a question of perhaps a parent survey, because parent feedback was also in there, but we, didn't want to step in on the superintendent. Advisory committee had put out one at one point. And so there was just throwing that out. Also, when you do, Carolyn, your new goals for next year, if you could color code them. Just as a future goal.
In the same color coding that we use for the rubric, so we can show you, or Laura can show you. Yeah, it's easy. They made some color coding things in the last meeting.
They will.
It's really straightforward.
Yeah. Just like when you're, because you were looking, I think, at the rubric when you're developing your goals, so they align a little bit more. So just, when you're creating it, it'll be easier to just color code in the beginning.
So Jess, where is that presentation? And maybe we have, I'll email it out, I'll ask Laurie.
No, go ahead, put it in. Let's see, it might be under the subcommittee report.
Oh, for this meeting?
For this meeting, yeah.
Okay. I see.
Yeah, fine.
Workshop, superintendent, all right, so it's in the, for anyone that's interested in, there's a link in a PDF, it's called Superintendent Eval Workshop. SUPTEVAL Workshop, for anyone, and then you click into its PDF and there's a link there. All right, great. Okay, anything else?
Just look at the minutes, just to the couple different points that, since we're gonna evaluate ourselves coming down the line, it'd be nice to know what we're evaluating ourselves and maybe the areas that we want to improve before that point.
I just have a quick question for you. So when we left the last meeting, Gloria just said to present in February, just for evidence. Is there a certain way the school committee would like that presented? I've been uploading everything in the drive under the superintendent's goals in my different sections, but I didn't know if it's an informal discussion or a specific way you want to do it.
Yeah, I think informal, so just so we can see that some of those boxes are getting checked. I know you were putting evidence in, and I think it's beautiful, it's in one place, so when we're doing the evaluation, it will all be there. I know I had found it at one point, I think you were putting it under each goal, right? You're organizing evidence under each goal. Yeah, so that's beautiful.
So, and then we just talk to it, utilizing at this point.
Oh, wait, don't, well.
Mhm.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I feel like time is best spent, if you put the report in the drive, time is best spent in here, we're letting people ask questions.
Yeah.
And we don't want, obviously, no one's gonna blindside you, so if we have any major questions that she needs to look into, like, oh, what are you gonna do for this project in March? And she just has project in March, we're not gonna blindside you, but, I think the time is best spent answering questions and discussion, right? All right,
Maybe just a suggestion that would be helpful, if you have a chance before the next meeting to look at what I put in as evidence already. Maybe go, maybe.
Can you send us the location again, because I had a hard time finding it again.
Nicole put it under the FY 23, it's the superintendent's goals and,
oh, yeah, it's under, yes, I noticed that, it's in 2023, so we can have her, yeah.
It appears like they're not school years, it was like 20.
Yeah, we talked about that, actually Nancy made that point before, she was like, why don't we do this school years? I was like, I don't know, because we've always done it this way. Or fiscal years or whatever, yeah, because the fiscal year is like June 30th, which is when we kind of end our school committee year. So something to talk about arranging the drive. For now, we've always done it this way, so like if you need to find the meeting, you don't have to click, like if we were still, like this fiscal year is 2024, but like in July, it'll be fiscal year 2025, so to find the July meeting, you'd have to click the 2025 folder, so that's, we talked about that, make it confusing, so I don't know, I don't know if anyone has strong feelings about that, but the drive is a difficult beast.
Yeah, I mean, you already have it divided by each of your goals, so that's beautiful, so.
All right, my computer dies when I use this. So, that's fine. All right, so is there anything else for Jess? All right, Mike, do you wanna do the policy?
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting since our last school committee meeting. We are scheduled to do one this month. There are several policies that were first reads last time that are up for votes. So if anybody has any questions when we get to those, feel free.
Okay, great. So for the budget subcommittee, we did meet and we literally reviewed everything that Nancy just went over. We did not have that memo. That was actually what we had the meeting on Friday and Julie and I had asked her for the memo. So I do appreciate the hard work on the memo because she did work over the weekend to get the memo done. When I saw it this morning, I said, this is confusing, or Monday morning, I think, whatever day it was. It is confusing, so I think once we find our groove, that'll be good. But yeah, I think the big thing that came out of that budget subcommittee meeting was, what are we gonna do with BES? I'm anxious to see what happens tomorrow. I think if the roof leaks again, we need to have a serious discussion about putting a roof on this year. And Carol and I, what came out of that meeting is I think we decided we were gonna try to, I know Mike, you love this, have another subcommittee, to have a meeting about meetings.
Oh, me.
I know. No, but the thing is, I think we need to make a decision collectively as a group, everyone in this room, are we gonna move forward and start planning to put up a new elementary school, regional elementary school? Are we gonna put a new building in? Or are we going to invest in our current buildings? What's the space situation in Berlin? What's, what down the road? Nancy has this 5-year capital plan. What are we gonna do? And what else do we need to do if we wanna keep BES for another 20 years, if that's what we decide to do? But I think that those are kind of questions looming, and that was kind of what we talked about at our subcommittee meeting. Nobody knows the answer. I don't think anyone wants to say, just make a decision on it on their own.
Is there any progress with the town on setting up that group?
No. So I think Carol and I are gonna try to spearhead that. We had talked about that, and then we got super busy this month, but I think,
So that's your answer.
that's exactly what we need to do, Michael. We said we want, someone from the select board, someone from the planning board, April needs to be involved.
I know Matt's keen to go.
Matt absolutely is. He's been really helpful with a lot of things. So, Carol's gonna talk about the SRO forum coming up. we've been working on that, so I think maybe once that's behind us, then we can start focusing on this. So yeah, that's where we're at, and Carol and I talked about, yeah, we want, somebody needs to put that together, so no, we have not heard from the town, and maybe either the budget facilities, that subcommittee can be part of that, and we gotta figure it out. Just another thing on the list to do, right? Just another thing. Yeah, so obviously we'll be monitoring the roof at PPS tomorrow too, that's another. All right, so that was it for budget, we're all set with policy. Any questions thus far? Because then we're gonna roll into Carol and then the votes. All right, so one other thing, Carol had left a document in the drive that was marked confidential. It's about the security plan, just so everyone knows. We're only supposed to be discussing the school security plan in executive session. She wanted to give you guys an update on what's going on. Are they able to ask questions on that?
Probably only do that executive session.
Okay, all right, so that was just like a read, just an FYI. So if anyone has questions on that, you can email me and we can get, okay? So you're not gonna discuss that at all? Okay, I just wanted to double check. Thank you. All right, go ahead, Karen, sorry.
So I wanted to go over a couple of pieces with all of you, to get your feedback on them. In my report, the draft letter to Berlin Finance Committee, this was a request from the town of Berlin to respond to the level service budget without the above level service. Why we would not, they wanted us to give that to them, they've been asking about that. I received emails from Kristen Rubin, the town administrator, about that. She and I spoke on the phone, and she said that what I explained to her, she said, I would just agree if you could just do a little letter to us to let us understand. And that's what I tried to do, explaining to them that it's not that we're just trying to hold back on that just to hold back on it, that we have a strategic way of doing the budget process this year based on our work with Mars. I explained that, Mass Association of Regional Schools. And rather than give them something that keeps changing, that we keep moving before we vote on the final budget, that we wanted to wait and hold off on that until we had better information. So I drafted this letter, I shared it with Megan, obviously she put it in the drive, and I told Kristen that if you were comfortable with it, or maybe that you'd rather send whatever back to them tomorrow for one of their meetings. I also do want to mention in that, I know that the group that was here from Mars, was working on that report about the towns for us to put in that. They are finalizing that and should be sending it to us within the next week or so. I talked to Steve about that yesterday, but I also talked to Sheila about that last week. So they're getting final numbers, so that'll be interesting for us to look at against the numbers we're putting in for our budget. So I think we're just doing it in a strategic manner. I wanted them to know that it wasn't ill intent, it was strategic and smart approach to doing it. So I didn't know if I have a letter here, did you have anything you wanted to change, or are you comfortable having me send it? I think that's the first question.
Lisa, did you want to say something?
Yeah, my only, and this is just something like it's really picky, but when I was reading it, I was just confused when it said hold our preliminary level service budget from distribution. I mean, would it be better to just say delay or hold back or something like that? Because I was like, hold, I wasn't sure what that meant exactly.
Which, can you tell me which paragraph? I just want to change it.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, third paragraph down, third line.
Yeah. I can put as comfortable.
Like if you just said hold back.
That's why we have editors.
Anyone else? Thank you for doing that, Carol.
Okay, so I'll send that out. Oh yeah, Assabet Valley Collaborative, every year they send us a copy of their audit report as one of 4 reports they send us during the year to take a look at. I think the most important thing, so there were no findings in the report, and this, what struck me in my first year with Assabet Valley Collaborative and the board that sits there is how this was presented about the collaborative. This just shows from the auditors that everything has been monitored fiscally for the collaborative, that all the books show, transparency and what's being presented. But what I was most impressed with was the fact that they had the auditors come and present to the board, or the superintendents in the area. So we have just gotten, have just signed off on them, our auditors finishing up their reports. They're sending us shortly the final audit. And I reached out to our auditors and invited them to come to our February meeting, the new auditor, to go over what the audit means. I don't think we've ever had that before, explain what the audit is about, the key points of it, and also any kind of, we didn't have any findings in the audit. There were some recommendations, or one in particular that I thought would be important for us to look at as a school committee and a school department. So they said that they would come and go over that with us, and I think we can have, a robust conversation with them and ask questions. So, and I can get the report to you early on, so you can review it and just see if there were anything you wanted to learn more about. So that's a this report from the collaborative, and that spearheaded that conversation for us. The next thing was, so also you see the community dates set by the superintendent. If you could put those in your calendar, I'd love to have you join me. Let me know if you're coming or not. I'm going to be happy to see you there. I look forward to it. There's already at 19 Carter this past week, and that was delightful. And I'm looking forward to these others as well.
So I'm gonna try to be at all of the morning ones. The afternoon ones are hard. I might try to stop in. I'm gonna try to get to as many as I can. The Berlin Library. I can probably go at two, right at 2, and same thing with the Boylston Library. So if anyone else is around and wants to come, that would be great. And maybe even if you just come for like 30 minutes and just to show face and meet people. Thursday night, I did a lot. Yeah, we did a lot last year. We all did a lot last year. We all went to 19 Carter, and so.
The other thing I was going to mention with that is I think I sent all of you a spreadsheet that Nicole had compiled all of the dates of all of the town meetings as well, the finance committees, the select board, and then there's a tab there of mine. So you can use that too to look at the dates. We don't have to attend all the town meetings, but we should know when they are. Our next one in Berlin is February, I think it's the 7th, something like that. But we know when these are showing up, and you can keep track of those.
Thank you for mentioning the tabs, because I only.
Yeah. I was like, it takes me a while with those two, those spreadsheets, but I did want to make sure that you had a chance to look at those. I do want to mention the resource officer forum. That is January 22nd, that's Monday. Chief John Annunziata and I will be presenting that in the Tohoto Auditorium from 5 to 7 p.m. We have invited the Berlin Police Department and all of the town finance committee, the select boards from both towns, because Berlin does have a stake in hiring of that police officer. And we're encouraging, we've had Nicole put it on the town websites. She's also having it added to the item, and we mentioned that last week, that we're going to be adding that again. And we're also looking for a way, in addition to having, the last week I'll have in my newsletters and all the principals put it in there, if there are any questions from the public, that they can email Nicole ahead of time so that we have questions from the community as well. We're still trying to figure out a way that folks can email or ask a question if they're live streaming the event, but that's kind of what we're working on and see if we can do that. We'll have that definitely involved. And also the snow day, we did talk about that the last meeting. If that doesn't work, the 22nd for snow, we can move it to the 24th. So we're including that going forward in our newsletters. And I'll skip with that information.
So that's going to be a posted meeting, just in case we have a quorum. It would be great if everyone on the school committee could come. I know it's not a scheduled meeting, but I don't anticipate that we would vote, but there might be questions we're thinking the school committee will sit in the front row, and Carol and John will be on stage. So it's not like we'll have to be on stage, but it'll be good if everyone's present, and like I said, we are gonna, I believe the select boards are both, I know Boylston Select Board is planning on coming, and they were saying they were gonna post the meeting as well. So it will be a posted meeting. In the event there's deliberation or whatever, but I don't anticipate us taking a vote at the time or like that.
So 3, so. the
Well,
select board-
I'm definitely posting it as a meeting, the agenda will go out, so I'm hoping everyone can come. I acknowledge that it's not a date, we're all busy, so if it poses an issue for anybody, obviously, don't worry about it, but it would be great to have everyone there. I heard from Boylston FinCom, all plans to attend. I know the Boylston Select Board is gonna be there, April's gonna be there, Kristen got back to me today, the Berlin folks are planning to come as well, so.
To this one.
Oh, yeah.
They have a select board meeting, they don't do it here on the 7th.
Oh, I don't know about the select board, I got back from Kristen, the
Oh, from the TA.
Yeah, but also too, their meetings usually run later, like they start at 7, this is at 5 to 7, so maybe they're planning to just have that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's how they do it.
Do you know how long you anticipate the meeting to run for you
I
guys?
just, yeah.
Well, her presentation, I think her and John are only presenting for what, like 30, 40 minutes tops. So we're hoping to answer questions, so if we don't have any more questions, then we will end, but it's gonna end at 7.
We put together a very good PowerPoint that Megan had a chance to review with Matt Meekum and April Stewart this past Monday.
Yeah, it's like 6 or 7 slides.
So they gave us,
it's perfect.
critiqued it, they gave us some more to add, some to take out. And so it's brief, I think that John will do most of the speaking about the position itself and the costs and so on. And I'll speak to it from why we feel that it's important from the school district.
Is the job description, like the state job description included?
Yes, in fact, we're making 40 hard copies of those things on that, the MOU as well. And then we're going to be posting it on the website so people have access to that at any time.
And I'll ask Nicole to put all that stuff in the drive. We have a ton of, John had a ton of paperwork,
Yeah.
it was all hard copies, so we can, maybe, Nicole would be able to put some, I can email her too, put some of that stuff.
In our relevant policies, like the policy, I believe, or some policy.
Release, all right, I don't know those off the top of my head. All right, I'll have to look into the policies. John had a ton of documentation. He did a lot of research on it, so,
Yeah, I know there's one policy that says they're not allowed to arrest unless it's a felony.
well, it's state law.
Yeah.
There's like state law he printed out for us. Yep, so we can get.
And having that accessible before the meeting would be great.
Yes, yeah. All right, so we'll try to get that in the drive. I can look into the policies too, Jess. I don't know, Mike, if you know all the SRO policies.
Which one?
He said, Jess just said that there was SRO policies relating to,
There's policy about whether or not a cop can come into the school to do any criminal investigation or anything like that. There's
All right.
a policy we updated, 2022, I think.
Yeah, I believe it was KF, I have it written down somewhere. But I mean, if you just Google, not Google, but search.
search it, all right, so I'll make sure we put that policy in the drive, so
Yeah, I
policy.
think you look up officer or something, or police even.
Okay, okay,
So the last piece is, I wanted to share with you was the BMS lease. It was sent to us right before Christmas. I sent it out to our attorney, and she had the real estate attorney go through this very carefully. I sent both copies, so red line copies, you see the changes they made, and also the cleaned up copy of this. What I would say to you is if there were questions at this point you had that I could direct to our attorney before we sent this to Berlin, that's what I would want to know. There's one area in particular, I think if we look in particular, I think in particular, and based on our conversations at the last meeting, if we look at section 4, I want you to be able to see that one, because I think that clarifies for us, right, what the building intention is, according to the town, when school is not in session. I really liked that piece. I didn't know if we want to add anything further into that.
Carol, you're good with that section 4?
Say that to me.
You're okay with that section 4?
I would prefer if we somehow said to the town, I mean, I think if they have control over how that space is rented out, and it's not even just, you know, to play basketball, it could be so they want to, the towns are rented for a Halloween party for the Lions Club, or something like that. That it takes the onus off of us as far as controlling the renting of that space or what they expect from it. I don't know, I mean, if the school committee wants to put in there that we would recommend that they have a custodian for those opportunities. Or we want to say they don't have it for basketball, but they have it for other kinds of events. So would ask you to think about that. I just, from that perspective, think about like if they have an event there that's going on, and the Scouts want to rent it on a Saturday. If we don't have the custodian there, not being familiar with the building, perhaps, and they leave, it's not cleaned up, that falls on our custodians to come back on Monday to have to clean that
Are
up.
the Scouts part of town, or are they their own organization? Their own.
But the town, they could go to the town and say, we want to use this on the weekend, and the town could say, okay, I'll rent it to you.
And that's,
So the school's not using it, the way this agreement reads is the school's not using it, the town can do whatever they want with that space. They can rent it out, they can have whoever they want in there.
we get first preference for that.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
for the town, for the town events,
For town.
not for some third party.
No, they can do it for,
It does say town Berlin events, or it's Berlin sanctioned.
sanctioned events that do not interfere with school usage. The way I read it is, yeah, if Scouts want to, and the town wants to support Scouts, they do.
If the town
They should.
is.
If the town wants to,
And they should,
Yes.
yes, they can, right, I feel like they should be able to.
something like that, but yeah, like, or like the Lions Club Halloween party, like you said, something like that, or, I don't know.
I don't know, I would say the town will probably add on to that floor. Because that was not in there originally, that we shared use, the original one, is that right?
No, the original one did have a shared use
That
clause,
was this?
it did not have this. This is
Okay, so
different
it's more-
verbiage.
So it's more specific.
Yes.
Yes, definitely was.
Yeah, this is way more specific.
And the other one's image drawing?
No, the original one was not in the
Yeah, I
drive.
don't know.
Have you guys seen that though?
So it's hard to, I would say the town would take that and add to it then. But if you're saying that this is more detailed than what the town had, then it's not.
This is what our attorneys recommended.
I can just,
It seems reasonable to me for the town.
I think so too.
If the
just
schools are good with it.
there's an email from that specific attorney that just said, attached by the red line, most of the substantive changes concerns maintenance and repair issues, we see that in there. While the initial draft was not expressly inconsistent with the regional agreement, he was looking at against a regional agreement. It left the responsibility for payment and performance of repairs over 5,000 ambiguous. This redraft attempts to clarify those matters. The initial draft also provided both parties with the right to terminate the lease at any time, which he struck. And then he just wanted to know if there are any changes, comments. So like I said, we can go back, if you have questions or concerns, I can go back to the attorney on our behalf, or we're going to give it to the town now to look at and see what their comments are as far as the changes. Because it looks, you know, when you look at the red line draft, it's mind-boggling. So if they look at it now and say, okay, we agree with this, but we want to know about something else in here, then they'll come back to us again.
Can I ask John, if we say this were to go into effect, would this change the way you operate now?
I'm actually not aware of the words. It'd be hard for me to answer. Carol would push the button a lot.
Alright, I was just curious.
Yeah, thanks.
In the years past, it doesn't really change, at least my experience of being at Berlin Memorial. But we coordinated with the towns, like we coordinated if the Lions Club needed to come and use the cafeteria, they came in and used the cafeteria. Folks cleaned up the best that they could. But again, I think we, in my time, we had the custodian there. Like we had the custodian there, the Red Cross, for example, came and did a blood drive. The custodians were there. So that's the only piece, again, that I would suggest we add in there, but I would, do we just leave it to the town?
I would say the town would probably, if they're gonna be responsible for it, there'll be a process that they have. I don't think we need to add it because I think it's a blanket thing, and for any group that comes in there, I think the school's requiring this, but at that point, it's no longer school.
Right.
So I think, yeah, so I would say defer that, in my opinion, I would say that should be deferred to the town.
And as long as it is, because they may have their own, they may bring their own contracted people in.
Right.
To clean, to do the cleaning, right, during that time period, and not utilize our school folks. If it's not working out, we probably have to go back and revisit this again. So
If there's a problem, yes, or you bring it, you say, hey, per the lease agreement, you're responsible for the building during this time, we came here, it was a huge mess. I think if they're gonna have a blood drive, yeah, you need a custodian there.
So, and I would say, I would also think too, as we're going through this, my recommendation would be to send this to them now, have them look at it, and then if they come back with any questions. I don't think we should finalize it, I wouldn't sign it at this point.
No,
I would just say, see what they have to say now, let them bring it back to us, and then we can consider those possibilities and see what they have to say, and then from there.
It sounds reasonable.
Did the Mars people ever send us a sample of lease agreement?
No, this came from this came from the town initially, the original one.
I'm just curious, like, 'cause when they were here doing that, we asked them to send us a lease agreement.
I thought it was a regional agreement we asked them to send. This is a lease
Yeah,
agreement
there was a
between
regional
towns.
agreement for the interregional district transfers.
Yeah, this is a lease agreement, that's,
No, I don't know. It was a lease agreement because we didn't have one, and so we wanted examples of ones from regional schools. The only
I don't
reason I
know.
bring it up is because maybe there's something in those lease agreements that we would have on us or is not. We didn't.
I can ask her, I'll talk.
And we can still send this to the town and ask.
Yeah.
And ask her
Yeah.
as well.
this did come from Myra Pocano though, so I would assume they would use.
They didn't originally, but this is.
No, he redlined it, yeah,
Yeah.
so I would assume he,
Yeah, this came from the town.
yeah, they used all, whatever regional, you know what I'm saying, whatever Massachusetts law template.
And again, if this,
I mean, this is what we're paying them for.
yes,
Right.
if this was great, we could never do this on our own.
No.
I think that if we,
They did a ton of work on
once
it.
we solidify this, as I said earlier, with Berlin, Boylston wants to look at it, they're smart, they're waiting for us to do the work with Berlin first, and then they'll take it and then make their adjustments, and I think that will be, move much more quickly with them, but I also want to be respectful of the time for this to get it back, because anyways, Kristen's asking about this as well.
Wow.
In some form.
Yeah, no, that's great.
All right, so do we want to vote on this? We do need to vote to, Kim had recommended that we, is this not on the agenda?
It's on the agenda to vote on, so
Mhm.
that was, if that's the last thing, we're just going to whatever.
Well, we're gonna talk about the Hyannis field trip, Lisa's gonna present on that, but I wanted, while this is all fresh in our head, I wanna just vote, but I'm not seeing it on the agenda, my
It
computer.
is.
All right,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down.
I'm on the wrong agenda, my bad. My computer died, sorry, okay, here it is. All right, so could I have a motion to approve the red line version of the Berlin lease agreement that will go back to that will go back to the town attorneys for review? This is not,
Don't you need the vote?
they should be the same, but all right, yeah, so let me rephrase that. All right, so could I please have a motion to approve the vote version of the Berlin lease agreement draft that will go back to the town of Berlin for review? Meaning this is not a final lease that is going to be signed. Okay, Julie, Jess. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? I'm an aye as well. All right, so that motion passes. So that will get sent back, Carol. We'll send that back. Yep, awesome. All right, Lisa, do you want to give us like 3-second version of this Hyannis Student Council field trip and the afternoon chess club so we can vote on those 2 things?
Yes. So the Tohoto field trip is something that actually I participated in. It's the Student Council, Massachusetts Association of Student Councils State Conference at Hyannis. It's a wonderful opportunity. Last year, the High School Student Council received the MASC Gold Council Award. And because of that, they have the privilege of bringing 16 students to the conference with a representation of all 4 grades. Purpose of this trip is to support our Tohoto High School Student Council in attending the state conference during this time. At the conference, student representatives will engage in leadership skill development workshops, regional meetings, listen to motivational speakers, participate in MASC student elections, and network with students from across the Commonwealth. We have had students recently who have served at the state level, which is very impressive for our small school. With an increasingly active council, this trip has become an invaluable experience for our student leaders, both in fostering their skills as well as giving them inspiration. An extra note, Tohoto has had representation at this conference for over 10 years running. This trip will happen March 6th through March 8th this year. And this trip is funded by family and student council. Student council is very active in fundraising, so usually the cost is nominal.
Does anyone have any questions about that trip? Lisa?
I just have one question. I was just looking at the documentation in there, and for the requesting of the bus, I think the date might have been wrong.
So we, because they're still trying to get all information. I don't know what you have uploaded, to be honest with you. I don't know what you have uploaded, but.
Well, it said February 6th instead of March 6th. It's the Hyannis field trip PDF.
Right.
I don't know if that's gonna
drive.
be like, the bus doesn't show up, or, shows up the wrong day.
Is it, I don't see that anymore.
3/6 and 3/8.
And then just scroll down to NRT bus.
It's because it's Emily McCarthy's report.
It's page 6.
Call energy. Oh yeah, date requested for February 6th. What's a typo?
Requested for us. Yeah.
Emily, so Emily will have to make sure that that is correct, the date.
Right. Yep. Yep, I'll make sure. Yeah. Yeah, I usually don't get the NRT like that's a separate request, so I wouldn't assume that.
Good catch, Lisa. Thank you. All right, any other questions on that?
Sounds fun.
That's great, I love these field trips, the opportunities for these kids. All right, let's vote on that. So, sorry, I'm working on it. Okay, so could I please have a motion to approve the Hyannis Student Council field trip from March 6th through March 8th? Julie? Second, Jess, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? I'm an aye as well, that motion passes. All right, Lisa, did you want to talk quickly or briefly about the Tohoto After School Chess Evening Game Club?
Yes.
Or is that Sally? No, sorry, that's you.
Yes, so that, so this really is, a courtesy, because it really is not, doesn't involve any funding. So this, so just an opportunity for you to hear that, a parent came to me, and we already are funding an after-school chess club. with students participating in so many sports, there was a parent who was actually hosting chess club at home for students who were also involved in sports and just couldn't, and were really interested in doing that. She was feeling as though she wanted to make it more inclusive by not having it at her home, to make it a more comfortable space. So she just wanted to know if she could host it in the cafe area outside of the library. She's donating her time. If the kids want to have a snack, they bring a snack. She would have them sign in with an emergency contact. You know, she's not asking for anything. She just wants to move it from her home, so it's just more accessible. And more space, providing, you know, more opportunity. So, you know, I thought I would, you know, share this with the student health, I mean, school committee. So, if you have any questions, she's been quarried and fingerprinted. So she has all that. There is already a custodian, you know, in place during the time, you know, for the evening. It would run, you know, 6 to 8, a couple hours, you know, on Friday nights. No Fridays during vacation, because, you know, well, custodian staff sometimes here, but we can't guarantee that. If there was inclement weather, it wouldn't happen.
I love it, that's great. That's so great, they're trying to accommodate more kids, and I love a healthy, fun activity on Friday night. Yeah. Anyone have questions?
So I mentioned she's quarried, but we require more than that.
Fingerprinting.
I said fingerprinting.
And isn't there another report that we require now?
Sorry.
Yeah, Cory and Sorry is.
That's all together?
Yep.
It was the fingerprinting, I think, wasn't it, right? Yeah, that's, so she's fingerprinted. All right, great. Anything else? All right, could I have a motion to approve the Tohoto After School Chess Evening Game Club? So, Lisa, Bess, and any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, that motion passes. Great, thank you. Sally, last but not least, before we vote on all these policies, do you want to just briefly speak about that, the $500 donation from Unibank?
Sure, I was given a contact from Unibank in Martinsville, saying that they oftentimes will donate funds to school systems if they, you know, feel that what you're doing is something that they stand behind. And so I spoke to her and wrote a proposal for funds to cover the costs of food and materials for the monthly portrait of graduate meetings that we have here, and they donated $500. So I'm just asking for.
It's great. Does anyone have any questions? I know, so they can have like snacks and meals, as we know, I'm sure just to feed that group of people one time is $500, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Did anyone have any questions about that donation?
Do we have any documentation on this that we're supposed to have for cash donations? don't see
I
anything
have a
in the
letter that we wrote to them in the proposal, and also a letter that states exactly what we're using the funds for.
But do we have anything from them?
Just.
Saying they're donating, you mean?
Yeah,
Oh,
saying
yeah,
they're donating.
they sent a letter, right?
Is this not?
I have an email confirmation, and then they sent it to me.
I just don't see it, so what are we doing? This is the same cash donation conversation we had every time. We need
So with the
something from
template, we
donor.
should have the check. She already got the check.
Yeah,
so that should
we
be in the
need
draft.
something from the donor, saying what they're donating, why they're donating it, what they want to use. So that we don't have a company like we've had in the past, come back 3 years later to say, I want my donation back. Because you didn't use it for what I thought you would.
I can find the email and get it to you for the next meeting.
I mean, it's $500, but $500.
So I think
We're
we
not
can,
doing what they want.
I would say we can still vote on it, so you can use the money now. And then could you put that, or have Nicole get that email in the drive tomorrow? Are you okay with that?
No.
All right, what does everyone else think?
I see your point.
I'm just trying to be by the book.
I don't know, I know, but I feel like we talk about it, but people don't know about it.
No, everyone in this room knows about it.
Yeah, I think this is a nice donation to be put toward that. I think I agree with Megan. And then I would-
It's
That was my
against the-
fault.
It's
She
against the
asked-
policy,
Yeah,
but-
It's my fault.
I
She
did a
had a
write-up, but
template,
something
she
I
did a
wrote.
write-up, so
I see the letter, Sally's letter.
in addition to the write-up, we need something from the donor
Moving forward.
all right. So
It's-
understood, but something
It's
from
like
the
the third
donor.
meeting in a row, we've had this conversation. Just
You know, so
for
there's a
record.
disconnect somewhere.
Well, I think
Fix
we've been
that.
trying, so what Carol and I talked about is we tried to streamline it by making a template. And what we
Yeah.
forgot about with that template is putting the actual documentation from the donor. And so Sally wrote a report, and then we're like, no, we gotta do this template. And I don't know, I can't remember if I saw the
Wait,
template.
you're saying they sent an email? So-
Yeah, so that was my
I
bad.
have an email, I just didn't think, I didn't.
Yeah, so the email exists, I think we're fine to
I'll
vote.
put it to the drive right now.
I'm done. I'll find it.
You get your laptop ready?
Yeah.
Like, we can do other votes while she's doing that.
All right, we can do policy votes. Thank you, Sally.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that template will be updated to say additional papers required is letter, email.
Yes, sorry, I'm learning this stuff myself. Yeah.
Future use.
Yep. I vaguely remember what happened last year, but I was not really involved in it. I heard about it, but yes. So that is an excellent point, and we also have a copy of the check. I remember last year seeing copies of checks in the drive. We could black out people's account number and put the check copy in there as well. So that we can see, all right, the funds were received. Sometimes they write on the check what it's for, but we should have a letter of intent from the donor, or at least some type of documentation from the donor. So in addition to the template for donations, we need something from the donor.
Maybe we can add that somewhere on our website, a tab for donations.
It's just a form.
What website?
Well, our
The new
district
website.
website, yeah,
Oh.
right on there. And anyone wants
Great
to
idea.
donate to
Want
us.
to donate?
Give my,
I still, this was such a disaster
That was
last year. I don't
long
understand how
line.
it keeps getting over.
Because I just wasn't involved in it, so it slips my mind. So I'm gonna
Everybody
take,
in this room was involved in it. Everyone in this room was involved.
I was so determined to
There's
do
just
the
so many
templates, to
things.
put make sure everything was organized and everybody had the same consistent way of
Yes.
entering information.
yeah, sorry.
right.
So no, you're right. I can't say you're wrong. All I can say is I'm sorry. And
So we
I'll
should put a solution for it. Make the template, we put it on the website. get
Oh.
the
So there was a
policy.
template, but the last thing, all we added the template, at the bottom of the template. Remember to attach
Check
donor.
and then donor letter.
Carol made a beautiful
See, this was
template.
not happening again.
She's
Like,
distributed them to the principals.
Even
So the principals have them.
You cut someone's finger off.
All right, let's vote on these policies and then we'll vote on the last
And
thing.
the
All right,
donor letter has to specify like what's the, like the donation.
donor intent.
Yeah.
Donor
Donor
intent.
intent, yeah.
It's like Sally's letter that she wrote in there, but just from them.
Right, I'm gonna have to contact her, because I have an email from her, but it's got a whole bunch of other things and things that they didn't like about it, and things they liked.
Yeah.
It doesn't straight out say, so like, I'll have to get that.
Perhaps there's a way to streamline the process is to create a form so that donors can just fill the form that way it addresses.
Oh, we're on the website.
Right.
I know. Yeah, we gotta do it, make it easy, because if it's too difficult, then people are gonna say, I don't want, all right, never mind, yeah. No one wants, if someone wants to give $1,000 bucks,
Surely
but
they
they
tell
don't
you something
correct.
when they give you a check. Like, surely there's a letter or a note or a freaking post-it note, like, it's $500.
Yeah.
Unless you talk on the phone.
I have
Sally applied for a grant, though.
Yeah, some of it was on.
This is like a grant.
So you applied for a grant, so they don't have an approval letter that they
It's
sent?
not a grant, it was just a donation. I mean, it wasn't like
She just asked.
But it was
Yeah,
solicited.
donation, yeah.
somebody told me I could call this person because they were willing to give out funds. So I called them and they did for a donation.
Donation form.
And originally, we were trying to get it for more, but then there was parts of it they weren't okay with. So she wrote me back and said, we'll approve the 500 for supplies and materials. I have an email that says, but it's amidst a lot of other things. I mean, I can get you an official.
Okay, and then send it to Nicole, and then we'll get it on the drive.
I'll get
So
on.
who's gonna make the form?
We already have,
No, this is only for the donor.
Oh,
Like,
for
so
the
the donor
donor.
can say donating $500 for, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
because sometimes people are like, yeah, I'm not gonna write a letter.
Right.
No, it just has to be,
No,
yeah, so we just need the purpose of the amount.
I mean, for crying out loud,
Use-
money laundering 101.
Yeah.
Need something.
So it's just the amount, purpose of donation, yeah, something very simple.
Yeah, they have to be able to find it.
Well, or at least Sally and the principals, like everybody that's getting these donations can find it, so it should also be downloadable, so some people are like, I don't wanna go on your website. If somebody comes to John and says, I wanna make a $5,000 donation, sure, let me just forward you this form, it's a 2-second form, you just gotta fill out, so we have the intent of donation in writing. Or, sure, here's the link on our website if you prefer to download it and do it yourself, or fill it out electronically. But yeah, we'll need Paul to,
Yeah.
this is good stuff, that's great. Good, all right, so this is good. I still said, do you still wanna vote on this $500? You can vote no, but I think we should still vote. Lisa, how do you feel?
I'm okay voting.
Jess? Yeah. So that they can use it for their next meeting, because we're not meeting again until the 27th. What?
Can I plug in? I would really love it if you would approve this because I've been buying this stuff myself, or we've been asking the school, the PTOs.
Yep.
One of them had already donated funds to pay for food, but
Yeah, it's to buy dinner, yeah. All right, could I have a motion? Sorry.
this time around.
Yep, could I have a motion to approve the Unibank donation of $500 to put towards materials and supplies for our competency-based education and portrait of a graduate initiatives? So moved. Julie?
Second.
Lisa? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
Okay, I'm an aye as well, so that's 4. That motion passes. Guys, it's 7:30. Central office at 10 a.m.
Part of that 30%.
Okay, all right, guys, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 policies, so I'm gonna group. Does anyone have any questions on any of these policies? Janelle, did you?
There's a couple that I just have comments on.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. So going in order that they appear. So my first one is on IHBA. Lori and I have exchanged some emails and I just provided the information that fits under that last line, 504, note districts to reflect local configuration. So it had basically, we went back, Lori and I communicated, she went back to Mass to ask them what they intended there. They were basically looking for who in the district was responsible for section 504. And so that listed my name, John's name, the principal's name, the 504 coordinator. So I don't know if you want to have that included. That was something that Lori and I communicated.
I don't know the answer to that.
So that's just my note on
Did
it.
you want to have that included in that policy, Mike?
I think that's what they're asking for right there. They're asking for exactly what she said.
It's not in there.
It's not what was printed off of the drive. Lori does have I did share the language with Lori. So just some feedback on that. And then I have another one. Do you want me to move on?
Yes.
So IHBF, homebound instruction. My suggestion is to specifically reference the DESI form that is required, which there's a title for it. It's Physician's Affirmation of Need for Temporary Home or Hospital Education for Medically Necessary Reasons. It's DESI's expectation that in order for us to implement homebound instruction, home or hospital, that a physician would fill out that specific form. I think it would be helpful for it to be reflected in the policy.
Okay.
So like a hyperlink to that policy?
Yeah, and the form is available, even available online. It could be hyperlinked to the form. It's a readily available form, and I think it's well known, but it would be a good idea to reference it.
All right, hyperlink, or it might be good in case they update the plan, so. You're not, that's,
Okay. All right. So do you guys? So Mike, I'm asking you because Laurie's not here. Do you want to wait on voting on those two and?
We can vote on it as is amended by what Janelle.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll do each one separately then. Well, was there any more, Janelle? Sorry.
No, those are my suggestions for added language.
Okay, so we're gonna amend, so for IHBA, amended with,
Coordinated by name, right?
Right, sorry.
Principals' names and your name, right? The titles.
Yep, it's really just who oversees the 504 program for the district. That was IHBA.
And then IHBF, it's going to be amended to include a hyperlink for a physician's form.
Sure. So we know that we can access hyperlinks from the school committee online policy? I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I believe you.
Yeah, because we give them the.
Okay.
All right, so it's to be amended to add a hyperlink to include a physician's form. What, is that correct?
Specific.
Required.
Specific.
Yep, I mean, there's a technical name for it, but I think if you call it physician's form, we know
Let's
what
call
the
it the
name.
required physician's form.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so any, or Lisa, you had a question?
For IHBA, under the legal rep, is it missing the section number?
It was copied straight from the MASC, I believe. Yes, we mean. I'd have to dig through to get the actual MASC version. So I can't answer that right now.
Is it like just a typo?
Could be, yeah, probably.
Something missing.
Do you want to wait, or do you think it's okay, Mike?
Would we amend it with whatever the
Yeah, I just,
whatever they say it is?
I have to dig it out and get some funky things going on here. I can't get to it right now.
But is there a way for us to approve it with the amendment of, to correct the section per the
Yeah, we'll look it up.
MCA?
Make sure that-
I just one more quick question, this is
Yeah.
just a really annoying style thing, but why is all the body text bolded in these? Just seems like,
I know they copy it from MASC.
yeah.
Good question.
I don't know. All right, anything else? Okay, could I have a motion to approve policy IGA curriculum development?
So,
Julie? Jess? Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
I'm an aye as well, that motion passes. Could I have a motion to approve policy JJH-E-1, educational field trip application?
so,
Julie?
Second.
Lisa? Any discussion? All in favor? I'm an aye as well. That motion passes. Okay, so, could I have a motion to approve policy IGB, support services programs?
so,
Julie? Or Jess? Any discussion? All in favor? I'm an aye as well. That motion passes. Could I have a motion to approve policy IHBA, programs for students with disabilities, amended to include the names of the district personnel who oversees the 504 plans, which would be Janelle and principals, and also amended to include the correct formatting based on the MASC guidelines?
The legal reference section number.
The legal reference section number, amended to include the MASC legal reference section number.
so,
All right, Julie? Jess? All in favor?
I,
I'm an aye as well, that motion passes. Could I have a motion to approve policy IHBF homebound instruction with the amendment to include a hyperlink for the required physician's form?
so,
Julie and Jess?
yeah,
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Okay, I'm an aye as well, that motion passes. Could I have a motion to approve IHBH, alternative school programs? Jess?
second,
Julie? Any discussion on that? All in favor? I'm an aye as well, that motion passes. Last one, could I have a motion to approve policy IJ, instructional materials?
so,
Julie? Lisa? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, I'm an aye as well. That motion passes. All right, future agenda items, we talked about the Student Success Committee handling the handbooks. We talked about Carol's mid-year report is going to be at our next meeting. We're going to have another lengthy meeting. I'm the only one who thinks that's funny. Carol laughed. So we do need to talk about the survey. It's come up a few times. I'm inclined to kick that back to the Student Success Subcommittee. Laurie's not here to speak on behalf of the Superintendent Eval Committee. So do you want to talk about that next time when she's here and see if she wants that subcommittee to do it, or if you want to kick it to Student Success, or Carol, did you want to say something about this?
I do, just
Yes.
because we're right at the tip of Tohoto sending out a student and parent survey on school climate. They created it, I had a chance to look
Oh, that's
at it.
great.
We were actually following up on it tomorrow at our admin meeting. And I think right behind them is going to come out the elementary one. So if you are comfortable with going in that direction, created by the schools for the students and the parents, that's happening. Unless you wanted to send a whole blanket to district one, but
No, I think it was motivated by the sub-eval item that, soliciting feedback from parents. So I think that certainly would fit that.
That's great. Love that. Yeah, and then that goes well. Trickle down to the elementary.
But they're on the heels of that.
How are you doing that survey, Carol?
It's going out electronically, right?
Google Doc, or I think that's what it's right. Survey.
Yeah.
Google form. So it's a Google form.
Through the.
So in the past, we've had trouble with those, with
Yeah.
people answering multiple times, doing different things on
You can
them.
do
So
settings.
you're gonna make sure that happens.
I mean, that was my feedback to that form, because for example, if a parent had multiple students in the school, did they want to have individual surveys? That's what our conversation tomorrow was on our agenda to discuss. To fill out, they will send out an individual one for each of their students, so we have one.
Yeah, because there's that issue, there's the issue of other people answering it that aren't connected to the schools, but they somehow get hold of it. You know, the Google forms are just, they're whack.
Easy to infiltrate.
Yeah.
We talked about maybe having some type of surveying stuff. I think
We had.
Maybe Survey Monkey.
Survey Monkey is free, right? But I thought it's not.
No, actually, it's to a point.
Okay,
I don't know if that's enough, but.
probably not.
Well, let's talk about that tomorrow.
I mean, if somebody is interested in transferring the content to SurveyMonkey, they're absolutely more than welcome to do that.
It's just a matter of you put all the work into it and it doesn't come back with accurate results.
But, this is the tool that.
It's not, Google Docs is not anonymous. It comes from, so you should be able to see who's answering
Yeah.
twice. It's just,
Right.
yeah, you can do the settings on it. It's just, it's not anonymous. SurveyMonkey can be anonymous, but I think for SurveyMonkey, you can fill them out multiple times, I thought we had said, right?
So I think you have to make it clear, like, are you doing it per student, like one survey per student?
Yeah, only fill this, yeah, just have good instructions. I think it's great that you're doing
If
it.
everybody follows the instructions, it doesn't matter.
No, but all you can do is try. That's all you can do is try. What are you gonna do? I don't know.
That's what gone.
Such a troublemaker.
It is true, people brag about it. Oh, I screwed with the results because I responded multiple times. We've had this.
I did hear that. I did.
We've had this.
But you can see who did that on Google Docs, because you can see an email address.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the problem, if you,
Somebody-
from Michael's point of view, if people put their email address in, they're not going to answer. Because now it's not an anonymous form.
But I thought for Google Docs, you have, no, you don't?
It's part of the settings.
Oh, okay.
So you can set it to be anonymous or not to be anonymous. I've had really excellent results with collecting emails. So,
Non-anonymous.
right, not
Yeah.
anonymous.
I think,
It depends on how,
okay, well, that's great that that's in the works. Thank you for working on that. I think that's great. I like it.
Is there like an open section, like a free response?
And did anyone have anything else they wanted to put on for future agenda items? I feel like we have a lot of stuff we're working on. But if there's anything else, I always want to hear about it.
My hope is that the program of studies will be upcoming for the high school and for scheduling purposes. So it's right now, all of the staff is putting edits to the program of studies. So I'm hoping that that would move forward for the February meeting. So then it will be approved, so then we can.
Okay.
Start.
Okay, the program studies, all right, we are gonna have a very long meeting.
Yeah, you know what, program studies, it's so helpful when choosing classes for the kids and the parents, but combining the high school.
Right, I separated them again.
Genius.
Right, yeah.
Well done.
Right. So it has been separated.
Yeah, I saw that, it was very
Right.
long.
Nice job.
So we'll have that to read for the next meeting.
And then we're working on, Daphne's was working on the calendar for next year.
Oh, yeah, we usually vote on that in March.
So
We have a Zoom meeting in March.
we could do it, yeah, I would say March.
We have so much on that February, so that's the
why
initial
I would
budget.
March, because we have to go through with the BBA and look at it together, so we should.
We're gonna have the budget transfers, we'll have, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of stuff in March, I mean, in February
So
27th.
March, we'll do do you want to do a first read of that calendar in March and then the vote on it? I remember.
No, we gotta do the vote earlier. Right?
On the calendar, yeah, 'cause camps are.
Yes, people need to know when school starts. Yeah, no, she's right. We should probably do a first read in February.
Just so people know the first day of school.
Or no, we have 2 meetings in March, don't we? We have a Zoom meeting and then we have the budget, the final budget forum. So we can do a first read on the Zoom meeting and then we can vote on the budget. At the public forum. I just don't want I thought we didn't have a lot on this meeting and we're almost 3 hours in, so having a tough time
Just
budgeting.
for the February meeting though, could it be listed as a future agenda item, like, just so it's there? So
You mean so you can see it, but if
Say,
you
what's the
can
first
see
day of
it, then
school?
it's the discussion that takes the time, so I'm reluctant to put it in the drive, and because then people are gonna have questions on it. Well, it's just a toss if people are gonna have questions or not, or we're gonna fly through it. So that's my only thing, it's definitely gonna be a future agenda item, there's no question about that. It's just, do we actually put it in the drive and have it be a first read and actually start talking about it in February? Or do you want
I'd
to?
say the sooner the better for families.
All right, you wanna do that?
Honestly, like.
I agree. I know people have already asked me, and I'm just like, I don't know. All right, fine, we'll add that in there. Just plan, that's gonna be a 3-hour meeting. So put that on for February.
The first read of it.
Yeah.
Megan, for March, just as a heads up, we have to write a report called for the Student Opportunity Act. And we have to submit it for April 1st, but they ask that it get approved by the school committee first.
Okay,
So we'll have to be in March. We're on a working on that experience, so we still have to.
great. Okay. All right, so we can add that onto our Zoom maybe, maybe?
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right, so we talked about, we have the SRO forum Monday, January 22nd. It would be great if everyone could come. And then our next meeting is Tuesday, February 27th at 5 p.m. And plan 5 to 8.
And there's no date for the SRO.
The snow date is the 24th, thank you, Jess. Yep, thank you. And hopefully we don't need it. All right, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Julie, Jess, did you say second? Yes, you did. All right, roll call, right? We do roll call? All right, Lisa? Do we do roll call?
I don't.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
I'm an aye as well. Yeah, right. All right.
No, I'm doing it.
Let's keep going.
Meeting adjourned.
I know, kids are.